What's up, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar, and as my buddy Peter fixes his background and stuff, I just wanted to welcome everybody. So Peter from Crushing Krisis, who you've seen here before on the channel, will be joining us today, as well as Kurtis from the Epic Marvel podcast, who joins me from time to time. But it's been a while since I've had Peter on, so this is really exciting. Today, what we're going to be doing, let me just bring him in here. You ready? Look at your hair. It looks amazing. Looks amazing. You're ready. You're ready. So today, the goal of this is to go over all the recently announced books. While I still have some more to announce, especially for the months of December and then January of 2024, I figured now is a good time to keep people, because I've been getting just so many emails like
from the Epic Marvel podcast. And some of these books today, at least one of them, I'm kind of surprised is not a modern epic collection, but I guess we will get to that shortly. I see that Omar is stuck down there in the chat. Let me communicate with my friend here and see what needs to happen. Well, folks, you got the Peter show today, apparently. I will talk about some random new stuff I got because I cannot kick off this show without Omar, and I will wait for him. I'll just run the show. So I just got this. Has anybody picked up this? Look, it's still in the wrapper, so I'm just going to open it up from IST. It's called The Man Who Fell to Earth. And I'm a big fan of anything that even vaguely hints at David Bowie. So when I see the title, The Man Who Fell to Earth, I'm like, yes, please give it to me. It's based on the David Bowie movie. And if you look closely here, that certainly does resemble Ziggy Stardust. It's by Dan Watters. And that's what attracted me to it other than the Bowie thing. Dan Watters, of course, fantastic on his brief run in Lucifer when the Sandman universe came back at DC. And also just really great indie books in the past couple of years. So this is really pretty cool looking. So I don't know. Is this a thing that has been on everybody's radar? I know we're here to talk about Marvel, and I mostly buy Marvel, but sometimes something just pops up and I grab it. So that was pretty exciting. And then the other exciting thing that I got recently is I love that the Generation X Epic line is just rolling on. It feels like we were never going to get these things ever. And I have the second one that just arrived not too long ago. I'm still here, folks. I haven't abandoned you. Hey, so I'm really excited about that.
Kurtis and I are here. Can you
and now Kurtis is here too. Wonderful. So I can stop vamping. But anyway, I'm talking about some recent things I'm pretty excited about. But what I'm very excited about is stuff we get to talk about together.
Oh, dude. I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry to everybody that's tuning in live. We're having some mighty winds here in Kentucky, which is not known for its winds. And it just completely shut down my house. I hope it doesn't happen again, but in case it does, Kurtis has control over the document. So you all just wait for me. I had to reboot everything. Right now I'm running on Wi-Fi, so I don't even know how good this is. Hopefully my my stream is okay because I'm still getting no internet because I'm waiting for one of my router or one of my extenders to come back on. So how are you all?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here. I was worried because I was sitting, I joined the stream and only you have the authority to put us actually in the live stream. And I was sitting there, I'm like, I could be vamping alongside Peter here right now, but I can't get on the stream.
And I thought my issues were causing Peter issues. So I was like, how is this happening? He's in New Zealand and I'm over here in Kentucky. So yeah, how's it going, Peter? Can you still hear us? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. Everybody's just having internet. I'm glad it's not just the Kentucky thing. Okay, so we are back. I hope not to be gone again. My goodness, that's just technology. The entire day it's been fine. And of course, as soon as I start the stream to explain what we're doing, boom, it goes down. So while we wait for Peter, what the goal is today is to take a look at a recap of everything I've announced so far. I still have a lot more announcements coming. I've got one on Sunday and I've got one on Tuesday. Unless you're part of our Patreon, you get early access to that. And those are mainly going to be reprints, so I can go ahead and put in the reprint poll. Go ahead and get that out of the way so Marvel gets another round of books that people want reprinted. It's really cool, like how this has been working. And I'll go ahead and say not everything we voted for, because of that little bit of time that they had to take a break from reprints to focus on new books because of the delays. We didn't get everything reprinted. I believe there's a total of 4 books from our main list that have not been reprinted. No, we haven't announced anything yet. We just got back. By the way, a big thank you to Jake Spencer for helping me with the dates and the list of books. I'm just glad somebody's keeping tabs on all of this, because I have tabs on all of this in my head. So it's not the same as actually writing things down. All right. Fingers crossed. Let's see if we can get the band back together again. How's it going, Peter?
It is going incredibly well, other than the vagaries of connecting to the internet. And I'm just so happy to be with you. I have never actually been face-to-face live with Kurtis, although I'm a big fan and I listen to him and I read all of his epic collection adventures. So I'm just really, really excited to be with both of you today. And of course, you, Omar, is not only my favorite YouTuber about comics, but also just a really, y'all need to understand, Omar's just a really good friend to have when you need a friend, let me tell you. So I'm very excited to be here with the two of you.
Oh, dude, it's my pleasure. I just wish you were closer. But then again, like you being in New Zealand, I wish I was closer to you rather instead of you being in Kentucky. Because man, that's one of our goals for my family and I, are like to go to New Zealand, I think in 2025. So yes, we're going to be talking about the recap of Omnis that I've announced. We're going to be talking about the mapping, the covers. But before we do have some new announcements. These are trade paperbacks and 1 gallery edition. And maybe at the end, I'll throw some hints, if you all want, as to what upcoming Omni announcements we have here in the next couple of weeks. One in particular, I have to get out by the 20th for a very specific reason. So that's already a hint, maybe. That's already a hint, maybe. But yeah, let's go ahead and start. What do you all think? Yes, Kurtis, Peter?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the chat. I think I'm ready to go. I couldn't get the slideshow working exactly the way we usually do it. Maybe the file's too large because it's a pretty big file or something. I don't know. So I'm sharing my screen, which means I don't think you have control over it.
No, and that is good because I'm the one with all the wind around here. So in
okay.
case my system
we're just piecing things together here, folks. It's just a little bit of technology at a time.
Let's see here. We have a super chat really quick. Thor. Maybe stick around for the hints at the end. And we had another super chat, but everything got destroyed when I had to restart everything. And I believe that was from oh my gosh, is it Kevin? I think I'll have to go back and look. We got a super chat from Connor. Thank you so much. I know Kurtis hates her, but Dazzler.
Omar better have me on the show if we announce anything big from Dazzler.
I did get a Dazzler Marvel Masterworks, so I'm sure it's right around the corner. So just a few trades that we haven't announced yet. These are the epic, not non-epic collection trades, and a couple of these are reprints, and then 1 new gallery edition. Then we can get started on the recap, and then we can talk to you all about mapping, because much like I did with the previous set of books, I'd like to get people's ideas as to like what could be added, what you think about the mapping and the covers and things like that. But again, let's go ahead. And so, yeah, by the way, big shout out to Taylor Talks Comics. He's in charge of our social media. So he's in charge of doing all the hints and everything now that I'm not. And so sometimes he confuses me because I forget what videos I already have scheduled. So when he's throwing hints about upcoming books and stuff, I have no idea what he's talking about sometimes. I'm like, oh my God. It was the
Taylor.
Jedi one. I'm like, what is that? I didn't announce.
I just want to say,
book.
Taylor, I'm loving all of the hints and all of those puzzles. It makes it so much fun. So good job on that.
Okay. I'm glad that you're enjoying that. For me, it confuses me when people think I'm doing it and they message me and they're like, is it this? I'm like, what are you talking about? And I look at something, I'm like, that's not, what is that, Krakoan? It was the Jedi language where you put up there. Right. I thought it was Krakoan.
When he did those the hints for the Hulk Omnibus that you announced recently, I spent way too long trying to figure out, like going through the comic book covers and trying to figure out what it was. I never did figure it out, but it was fun nonetheless.
Bard, thank you for the super sticker. How are you? Softcover Omar, thank you. Today, yes. Anything for Black Widow today? I don't think so. Her boyfriend is here, right? Like he gets something special. But no Black Widow today. All right, Kurtis, let's go ahead and add this to the stream if you want to make that full size. If you have a Mac or just hit F11. Is it not letting you do a slideshow presentation?
It's not letting me do the slideshow presentation as usual. It's just in my browser today, but I think we can make it work.
Weird.
That's pretty big, though.
It is, but will you have control of it? Like left, right? Like...
Yes.
Okay,
I do.
We're good. Let's rock and roll then. So we're kicking it off with the Ghost Rider by Ed Brisson. So this is a series that has had little trade paperbacks, but now it's the Ed Brisson trade paperback. They're stepping away from the complete collections. They're doing away with those, and they're focusing more on saga books now. This is just called Ghost Rider by Ed Brisson, though. But Peter seems excited.
So let me tell you, if people ever followed me when I was doing my X-Men show on my channel, I historically am not a huge Ed Brisson fan. And I was like, oh, him on Ghost Rider, really? But guess what? This series, for me, pushed all of the buttons of reading 90s Ghost Rider. I think a good Ghost Rider book, it needs to be high drama between the brothers because it's really turned almost into a little bit of a family thing in the latter half of the 90s book. And it's got to be like high supernatural heaven and hell, high stakes. And I think when you just have Ghost Rider doing something a little bit funny or doing something a little bit low key, that works for Robbie Rye's Ghost Rider, but not for the original Catch and Blaze Ghost Rider cast. And this series, it just hit every note for me. Like I'm not a huge Ghost Rider fan. I'm not a huge Ed Brisson fan typically, but I like signed up and I was at the top of the pile every month with this. So I think if you're looking for a modern take on Ghost Rider, look at all these events that he plays in. He's in Absolute Carnage. He's in King in Black. It's really satisfying in a way that a Blaze Catch book has not been for me in quite a while.
Have you read the new Benjamin Percy one?
No, is it good? I was on a comic sabbatical for a few months, so I'm not caught up.
I really liked it. It surprised me how good it was. It surprised me how violent and dark it is, considering it's only like teen plus. Just some of the things they're getting away with. Yeah, but if you like that era of Ghost Rider, because in this he gets a new status quo, right? Like during this Ed Brisson run, of Ghost Rider. Really quickly, thanks for distracting me at work. Thank you so much for the super chat. Stop. Let's team up with all your DC archives back there. Yellow shirt, New Mutants related. The yellow shirt is a hint today, but and I'll talk about Omni hints later on. How about that? We'll make it fun. All right, Kurtis, anything to add?
I just wanted to know, Peter, is this, when you read all of these issues together, is it a good reading experience when it's collected as a trade paperback like this? Because he's got a lot of all of these one-shot appearances in these massive crossovers that you're not getting all of the parts to. Is it still okay will you still understand it?
It's been a little while, but the way that I remember it was that like the crossover things kind of held one-off developments that then reflected back in the main book, kind of how the Immortal Hulk one-offs were like you never had to read the Immortal Hulk one-offs, but then if you had read them and you got back to the main book, you're like, oh, I know what happened there, because Ewing kind of like winked and nodded a little bit, and that was what I remember feeling about this one. But I mean, I'm just psyched. When this was the first one that loaded up, when you showed me the presentation, I think this run just needs more people to see it, and I think it'll go on to be appreciated. I was devastated when it didn't continue. It really felt like something special was happening. So I felt like Percy is a great person to take it over. But I'm really happy to see that this is getting a little bit more airtime, and hopefully people appreciate it.
This is also to go back to what Kurtis is saying. The only one here that I don't know how well it connects, because it's the only one I haven't read, was the Ghost Rider. No, I did read that because that was part of that trade paperback. That's more of an ongoing story in the 2099. So that's the only one that I think is so disconnected.
Yeah.
But everything else, it makes sense because without going into spoiler, Danny has a new status quo during this time. And when he shows up in King in Black, if you've read King in Black, you're going to be like, wait, when did this happen? And they don't really tell you, but this is the story that it happens in. It's just one of those, to me, wonderful gap fillers that I get to use that word again later on when talking about some of these omnis coming up that we're going to be talking about. Really quickly, let me get the super chat. Me getting a shout out for helping Omar with his video officially. Dude, you didn't have to super chat me. No, seriously, thank you so much, man. This young man right here, celebrating his birthday on Saturday. He has a podcast / YouTube channel. If you want to post that, man, in the chat, please go ahead. So old man, people are trying to guess because of my yellow shirt. Yeah, it's a pretty. Yeah, I wanted to actually throw a hint today as to what book we're going to be talking about, the gallery edition that we haven't announced.
One last comment on this. We've been talking all about the writing, but a lot of the art is by Aaron Cooter, who I think is excellent. And his kind of like very square, bold figures. I was a little worried if it would work with like the organic quality of the flames, but it really, really does work.
And let me get one more super chat from my buddy Josh. Dude, you could have just texted me. You didn't have to super chat me. Omar, when are we getting Man Omnibus Volume 4? Give me them deets. I know you know, homie. At least give me a little hint. I really don't know about that one. I don't know nothing about that one. I mean, it's definitely one that is probably going to come because we have a ridiculous modern epic collection of Venom with stuff that hasn't been collected in omnibus format. So we know the mapping is there. It's just a matter of time. But Kurtis's people, they were just louder, I guess, and demanded a Venom modern epic collection.
I'm sure we did.
Let's move on to the next book. I want a refund. I'll text you your refund, man. So not an omnibus, but then again, it didn't get voted in our most wanted reprint poll, which will be coming up here in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye on the channel. But Secret Wars 2 is coming back out in trade paperback. Volume 1, or Secret Wars 1, as it's referred to, came out in trade paperback last year. And they're also going to reprint Volume 2, or Secret Wars 2, rather.
Yeah. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I heard, Kurtis, I was going to say, it's nice to have these paperbacks to go along with the epic shelf, because it's not like any one epic was going to have Secret Wars 2. And I know as these come out, for me, they go right alongside my epics.
Exactly. And this one, it has been out for a while, and it has been really hard to find. And even though it's not the most well-regarded story, it's still nice to have it available if you want it. And like you said, yeah, I don't know if they'll ever stick it in an actual epic collection because it's too long and it doesn't focus on any one character. Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Yep. Did it get a... Correct me if I'm wrong, and probably both of you would know this. Didn't it... Secret Wars 1 got a Marvel Masterworks, didn't it?
No, not
or am I mistaken?
Did it get a Masterworks? It will when they get that far.
Oh, I guess they haven't made it that far yet. I was wondering if this would ever get a Masterworks. Can you imagine? By the way, I'm
really stretching the bounds of the title of Masterworks when we get to Spider-Man teaching Beyonder how to go potty.
Easy. We're going to get into the 90s Masterworks, and then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, Sleepwalker. So Secret Wars 2, it's interesting they're using an Ed McGuinness cover instead of the classic cover.
This was one of the covers of the original pair of omnibuses as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, the thing that's interesting about this looking back is Marvel had always been the world outside your window. And so when they wanted to do big events at first, Contest of Champions, the original Secret Wars, it was about pulling the heroes out. Like it didn't actually exist in the Marvel universe, whereas DC was having huge success with things like Crisis, but also like Legends and Millennium, although those are a little bit later than this, that were kind of like across the DC universe. And Secret Wars 2 is the first time that Marvel really committed to like an event book that was on Earth instead of kidnapping everybody, which had happened in the prior two. So I think even though it's not really highly regarded, to me, it's valuable because it's the first time an event kind of crosses the whole breadth. I mean, it visits the Avengers, the X-Men, New Mutants, Cloak and Dagger, like everybody kind of shows up. And I think for that reason, it's fun.
Peter has spoken, everybody. His love of Secret... I still think Secret Wars 2 has one of the creepiest tie-ins in New Mutants. Like when I was a kid and read that issue creeped me out when the Beyonders just killing the kids left and right. Like, woo. Then of course the next issue kind of resolves everything. They're coming out of their graves. Oh, everything's fine.
I think some of the tie-ins for Secret Wars 2 are better than the actual event itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. What is next? Well, of course I know what's next, but why don't you show everybody else what's next, Kurtis?
Sure. Here you go. So the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale Daredevil. Oh, Daredevil Yellow. I forgot to write yellow. That's very important to put at the top there. Daredevil Yellow Gallery Edition.
For one reason, Kurtis.
Hey, you proofed everything.
It was late at night. I had already recorded 4 videos, and I'm up trying to find covers. Yes. So Daredevil Yellow. I gave a hint. I think last Saturday I said it was a very colorful gallery edition that we're going to get. So I guess there you go. So no word on a reprint of the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale omnibus, but I really hope if they do a reprint of that omnibus, they add the Gambit and Wolverine miniseries, and I don't know, make up some color for it, brown, right, gold, I don't know, whatever. But we are gonna get Daredevil Gallery Edition because now we have Blue coming out this year, Spider-Man Blue coming out this year, and then in October we're getting Daredevil Yellow, which is a solid book. Mistake number 1.
Oh man, yeah. Start this again.
Who's keeping tabs? Who's keeping tabs?
You know that last, I think I got up to 4 mistakes in the live stream last week, and then I did an after party live stream on my own YouTube channel, and they kept the tally going.
It carried over.
Over to your channel. What are true friends for, man? Let me.
Yeah, that's right.
You know.
Now, there you have a gallery edition. I've never seen one to scale on a human being who I know. Do any of you have them on the shelves there?
Yeah, I'll actually. Hold on a second. Let me go get it.
All right.
This story is so good. I really love this one, and Spider-Man Blue are just, you know, top tier, excellent comics. The premise of this is it goes back to the origin story of Daredevil during his yellow and red costume years, and so that's only the first 6 issues of the title, and it tells kind of the story between the story. It gives a lot more character development for Matt as he's as a kid and growing up and stuff, and we have some absolutely beautiful ink wash color and watercolored job by Tim Sale, the late Tim Sale. Absolutely incredible. He goes so deep and dirty into the detail. And what's really, really great about the artwork I love about this one is because of the ink wash, it gives Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen universe a real down and dirty, gritty feel. And it's completely different from the artistic style that he uses in Spider-Man Blue, which is a lot more bright.
I was going to say it's different.
Yeah.
And honestly, they picked the best too. Not that there's anything wrong with Hulk Gray or Captain America White. What was the other one they did? Was that it? Right?
That's it. Yep.
4? Yeah, and then the Gambit and Wolverine. So here's a gallery edition, Curtis. Let me. I'm gonna highlight myself so you can see. So gallery editions are hardcovers, beautiful books, and here it is compared to the size of a omnibus.
Oh, that's a big honker.
So you.
I don't think I realized how much bigger they were.
They're bigger than your absolutes, and somebody told me that they fit. You have to force them in there, but they do fit into these K-laxes. So in case you have a K-lax, to kind of give you an idea, this is kind of the dimensions of it. And they're all in a hardcover format, and they're going pretty much reprint classic events. There are a lot I'm hoping for. Like I actually did a video last year, and I'll probably do it again this year to talk about like my most wanted gallery editions, because there's a lot of good art, right? A lot of Arthur Adams art there, which I know how you feel about Art Adams.
Yeah, that'll be what gets me kicked off.
All right, so that's your gallery edition, and what Curtis is doing is he's showing you these books in orders, like when they're coming out. So this is in October.
So these are all coming in October. Now, this has 2 covers. Do the other gallery editions have 2 covers?
Some of them do, like Spider-Man Blue does. Wolverine and the Avengers Kree Skrull War did not, but Spider-Man Blue, I think maybe these are the first 2 I want to know. The Wedding? No, I don't think the Wedding did either. I think the Spider-Man Blue is the first one that's going to have a variant cover, direct market cover. So yes,
that's pretty good because they're not dust jackets, so they actually do have to print like 2 separate books rather than just 2 separate dust jackets. That's kind of a big deal for variant covers.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Tim Sale, you know. And did you point out which one the direct market cover is going to be?
No, I think I generally have tried to put the variants on the right,
and I totally messed that up when I was doing it too. Okay, I believe the direct market cover is the one on the right.
Yeah,
that's the direct market cover. So that will only be available just that local comic shops or places online like Cheap Graphic Novels, Waltz, or In Stock Trades, Organic Price Books, Dime Break Collectors. Those places will have those books, that cover. Everything on the inside is the same, though.
I think Taylor said in the comments here that these are bigger. These are just bigger than absolutes, so they don't fit on the Kalax shelves. You have to.
Somebody told me they forced it in there, and I said I'm not going to do that. These are going to be top.
You just got to get out the sandpaper and just do a little bit.
I'm going to put them on the top shelf. All right.
Okay, moving on. Siege trade paperback coming in November. This one I think is well timed because we just announced the Loki Modern Epic Collection, which I think it kind of spins out of this story, right?
Very much so. I mean, you could read it without having read Siege, but if you want to understand where he came from, then Siege is sort of the preface.
This is the grand finale for crossovers for Brian Michael Bendis, isn't it? I believe this is the final one he did. House of M, Secret Invasion, and I think this was the big one to end it all. And then they started off 2 new series after this, and Dark Avengers kind of came to an end and spun off into Thunderbolts, the Ellis Thunderbolts. So,
right, this was sort of the that Ellis Thunderbolts was earlier. Siege in 2010.
Oh, that's right. They took over.
End of the dark. It was the end of Dark Reign, and it was also the end of the really dark period of Marvel. So the heroic age launched out of this, and the big sky got big and shiny and heroic again. All those new Avengers books launched, including Secret Avengers. XMEN launched Generation Hope after this. So it kind of was like the brightening of the brand after it had gotten darker and darker progressively through all of those Bendis crossovers from House of M to Secret Invasion to this.
Now the mapping on this trade is the same as the standard edition, so it's one that we've seen. This is a new printing of it. It is different than the Siege oversized hardcover, though, because the Siege oversized hardcover contains issues of New Avengers and Dark Avengers and Avengers, so it's a little bit different. That oversized hardcover almost felt like an omnibus, honestly. All right, Kurtis. Speaking of dark times,
Thunderbolts Dark Reign trade paperback coming in November.
This is a big book.
Yeah, I was surprised this is the modern epic, honestly, or even an epic, since it's all one Thunderbolts numbering.
Same.
Yeah, I was surprised at this too.
Because this is a continuation of Thunderbolts, even with the numerical system down there, 122 to 131. But this is the Dark Reign era of Thunderbolts, including the crossover with Deadpool, that was Daniel Way, I think. Yeah, Daniel Way was writing Deadpool at the time. So they might rebrand this one. I'll ask about this one to see if it's going to be a modern epic. What was the epic that we announced, Kurtis? Do you remember?
It was Dark Avengers Modern Epic Collection.
Okay, it wasn't.
One and done.
If I were to make some changes, I would call the Dark Avengers Modern Epic Collection a Thunderbolts Modern Epic Collection volume, and just have the actual title of that volume be Dark Avengers, because it's like continuing the story. It's kind of the same thing. So I don't know where this would be. This one right here, Thunderbolts Dark Reign, would be volume 4 or something like that. And
this is like the in between. This is the post Ellis era, and it's getting into the Secret Invasion stuff with Christos Gage, kind of writing it for a little bit, and then we have Diggle. Yeah, Andy Diggle step in and become the writer. So again, really surprised that this maybe they meant for this, and like I said, maybe they'll rebrand it later because they've done that before with Conan the Barbarian, turning it into an epic, because it makes sense, right? It's already mapped out, and it is. I want to say it's about the size of an epic, because I don't know how big some of those one-shots are.
Yeah, it's right on the verge. I mean, this is what, 10, 12, 16 issues. If even any of them are like 1.5 times issues, it's been on the side of a slimmer side epic. The interesting thing that I actually completely forgot is that those 4 one-shots, or at least 3 of them by Gage, came out during the Ellis run. And I couldn't remember why. Was it that Ellis was like slow in between issues or something, and they just needed to pump some more Thunderbolt stuff out? So those kind of interspersed with the Ellis run, but then Gage picks it up full-time right after the Ellis collection. So if you have that older Ellis and Deodato Thunderbolts collection, I forget if it was a complete or if it was just a by Ellis, this is the next sequential book. It actually wraps onto that a little bit, and then it directly follows from there as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, surprise. I'll ask if it was supposed to be, but maybe I'll get the same answer that not everything can be an epic collection, and then they change their minds later.
Well, especially with the Thunderbolts movie coming out, they're going to start epicing Thunderbolts. It's one of the big long-running series that has no epic collection at this point. So why would they not?
We did
coming out later this year.
Yeah. So it's just strange. It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I think they just now got into the 90s, right? The Venom was testing the waters. Then they got Carnage, and people like who was it? Phil Owens from the Epic Marvel Facebook group just buys
all
that
of his
stuff
favorite
up.
stuff.
Buys that stuff up, man, and just that's what happens. Oh my gosh, what the heck is going on in the chat? The stoppable bar, the unstoppable bar. Make sure you hit that like button, though. All 3 of you. Okay. Let's go to the next one. I'm excited about the next 2 books. Not that I wasn't about these in the gallery edition, especially. But the next 2 books got me excited because one is completely out of print, the trade paperbacks. It's a very underrated series for Spider-Man. This is Tom Taylor's Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, all 14 issues, and including the free comic book. They are going to be collected in here. Have you all read this?
Yes.
I
love
have
this series.
Yep.
You have Curtis? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This stuff is so good. If you missed out on it, do yourself a favor and pick it up because those trades are out of print. And it's just a lot of fun. It doesn't focus on Spider-Man, really. It focuses more on his friendly neighborhood. So
right, like he's there, but it's hyper local. Like it feels like Spider-Man on a specific block of New York City. And people love Tom Taylor, people hate Tom Taylor. I feel like he just really found this like personable version of Spider-Man who has time to stop and talk to somebody that we sometimes lose in like the hustle and bustle of the main run and Amazing. And looking back on my notes of this, I mean, here's what my first couple of notes start out with: an utter powerhouse of delight and a lovability, a tour de force of joyful, optimistic, fun spider content, a perfect one-off Spider-Man story with art that pulled some major classic moments reminding me of Ditko. I mean, it's just fun. If you like fun, heartfelt Spider-Man, buy this. It is that from front to back. There's maybe one dull issue of 14.
There is a really beautiful issue in here too. Can't remember.
And I think
can't remember what issue it was.
This was running a long time, the same time as what was the main Amazing Spider-Man story that was running at this time? Yeah, it was like when he was trapped in Central Park or something with all of the villains and
the Hunted
villains. I think that's what was going on at the same time as this, and it was like I was reading that one, and it was like it was dragging on, and then this came out, and I'm like, whoa, this is just such a breath of fresh air, and I really, really love this.
I'm honestly surprised that after this, they didn't give Zdarsky nor Tom Taylor a chance to write Spider-Man. And I realized that, Nick Spencer was on the books. I don't know, to come and write it. But I would have loved to have seen either one of those guys take over Amazing. But
yeah, it felt like Tom Taylor was really having a moment at Marvel for a little while. He had written the all-new Wolverine series in 2016 that was really well received with Laura and Honey Badger in it. He wrote this, and DC finally kind of locked him down, and now he's doing this fun, joyous stuff on Nightwing, and also his run of Suicide Squad was great. I just think nobody writes like joy-infused superhero comics quite as well as Tom Taylor right now, other than like I would say somebody like Wade when he's in Daredevil mode or even Champions mode. That's what these Tom Taylor books feel like to me. They're just happy comic books, still kind of tragedy in them, but just fun, enjoyable comics.
I completely agree with that, because the way that's honestly what I enjoyed about the all-new Wolverine Omnibus. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Laura, and I couldn't stand Dakan,
How
whatever.
dare you?
Dakin?
Yeah, sure. I couldn't stand him, Peter. Oh man, but he made him such a likable character. And then by the time outside of the all new Wolverine comic, though, it read like a completely different character. And there was a Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man series before this. It was written by Peter David. Late Mike Wieringo was the artist on that. This is years later. This is from 2019. I want to say it was Juan Cabal that did the artwork for the first at least the first 6 issues.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay, next one. Also happy about because it's out of print and it's coming back in a bigger form, and that is Doctor Strange by Mark Waid, Volume 1. So a couple books from his run have been out of print, and no word of an Omni yet, but hey, this is a good start. This is the stuff that happens after Donny Cates leaves the book. I believe, was it Donny Cates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes Aaron, was it Hopeless that wrote and in between Cates and Aaron? He's the only one that didn't get an oversized hardcover. And then we get the Mark Waid era, which turns into Surgeon Supreme. But this collects the first 6. Or first 11, sorry.
Yeah, a couple of things about this. First of all, I believe it's got some Jesus Says on art. I could be mistaken, but I seem to remember that if I'm not mistaken.
Who was it?
You're right.
Yeah, Jesus Says on art.
Oh, okay, yes.
And which preternaturally gorgeous, kind of super realistic. And here's my comment on this. I'm really interested in what either of you thinks. I sometimes roll my eyes a little when somebody comes onto a superhero book and they do such a specific trope on that superhero. I would say the trope here is John Carter of Mars. And I was like, okay, it's strange this John Carter of Mars. And I hated the first. I was like, this is dumb on the first 2 issues. And then I realized it actually was a great comic. And it let us get so much closer to Doctor Strange and who he is and why he is like he is, rather than seeing him go like against a bunch of mystical stuff, because it really like broke him down. So ultimately, I fell in love with it, even though I had my wall up at the beginning.
Wow, you described the journey through Mark Waid's Fantastic Four as well, because he did the same thing there. It's like, what? They're going to heaven? Like, let's get back to
that was awesome.
I know. Well, and that was
But
the
at
that
first
was
you
the
see the
apprehension
trope
at
and you're
first.
like,
It's like,
really?
Who was God? Okay, I don't want to spoil that. It was awesome.
But it's the same thing. It's like let's take our characters and place them in an environment that is not their normal environment. Even though the Fantastic Four go to multiple dimensions, it's still the supernatural side of things rather than the metaphysical side of things. And it's like let's explore that a little bit, and it brought out some great moments and some great character development. And I haven't read Mark Waid's Doctor Strange, but that sounds fantastic.
The next book will have one of my favorite stories, the one with Galactus, the Herald story arc. That thing was awesome. So he had to be taken out of his element, Peter, in order for him to tell that story.
Yeah, and this is another book. When I look back at my notes, after like an issue or 2 to get over myself, I pretty much loved it. Like I never disliked it from that point forward. It ends on a really gorgeous, satisfying issue. This collection, it just never disappointed. If you all like Strange and you want to see him do something that's not just the same thing he's doing in the movies, but you want that Doctor Strange, this is the book you want to read.
Nice.
Wow, what a pitch. It's one of the stories I recommend to people to try to get into Doctor Strange too. It's great. I really enjoyed it. Next one we'll wrap up and then we'll do a recap of the Omnis. So we're wrapping up with a very surprising book because I really thought this was going to come out in a hardcover format first. But because we just got Strange Academy year 1, I believe that one came out 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. And now we're getting year 2 by next January. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're going to get a oversized hardcover collection, an omnibus of all. It'd be nice, but we will see. But it is coming out. If you've not read it, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoy this. It's Scotty Young, Humberto Ramos working together, talk about the legacy of magic users in the Marvel Universe. And something huge happens in this story that kind of affects the kids and the whole idea behind the Academy, without going into spoilers again. If you've not read it, it's a lot of fun. My kids love this book. Like it's it's one of those books that reads like an anime, but still has the Western flair to it.
Kurtis, have you had a chance to read any of this one?
I have not read any of Strange Academy, but that I guess I should probably rectify that. I'd love to see this concept come up in the movies. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
TV show would be good.
Yeah, it really is primed for a TV show. I mean, I would have to say a couple things about this. First of all, I think it's the best artwork of Ramos's career. What do you say to that statement, Omar?
Absolutely, and a lot of it has to do with those colors.
Oh my god!
A
Like,
lot of it has
if
to do
you
with
think you have an opinion about Sergio Ramos and you know him from Spider-Man or whatever, you don't. It's the same shape of figures, and this cover doesn't really sell it. But just go and like find an interior page somewhere and look at it. I was stunned. I'm not typically a fan of his, and I was like, I'm in. He's never looked better, I don't think, in his career.
Like the way the magic is being used, like the way he draws magic and summoning spells, like it's really, like, seriously, it really reminds me of an anime.
Yeah.
But like I said, a lot of it has to do with Delgado's colors. I think his colors really, really help bring out Umberto's artwork.
And I think part of it is the colors feel a little bit more transparent than your typical comic colors. So you can like see the line work a little bit more and see the depth of the characters. It's not like as like high gloss, flat in your face modern colors. And I think that's a big part of it. The other thing I would say is if I had to name a comic book this was similar to, it's similar to like New X-Men Academy X or Gotham Academy. And that it's such a breadth of characters that at first you're like, what? It's anything that's ever been magical in the Marvel universe. There's a kid related to that. There's a kid that's Dormammu. There's a kid there's kids that are Asgardian. There's kids that are Ice Troll kids. There's it's got everything. Kids who have artifacts that do magic. And at the beginning, it's overwhelming that then over time, it kind of comes together and you realize why it's important to unify magic across a whole new generation of Marvel. So if you're like a broad Marvel fan, that this is actually a cool book for you because it's not just Gotham kids, it's not just mutant kids, it's like every kind of magic at Marvel kids. And so it's fun for that reason if you like kind of academy books, which I think is why it feels also like anime, because it's a very we're at school kind of book.
Yeah, and you can be a fan of like old school. That was the beauty of Avengers Academy. I was a fan, or Initiative. I was a fan of the New Warriors. I was a fan of a lot of the teachers. So that's what lured me into the book. And then I fell in love with some of those kids, and I follow those kids. We could talk about it another day, but I followed those kids all the way into the Avengers arena, and that did not go the way that I wanted it to go. I'm so glad that these books are being published, because while they're geared towards kids, I think they're wonderful reads. It kind of reminds you of that, not to make a joke, but it reminds you of the magic of comics, what makes it so great, why you fell in love with it for the first time. And you see that in the students and revolting against the school. It's a really fun book with some dark elements.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really dark trade-offs that the kids make to have their magic, keep their magic, make themselves known at the school. And I'll say I'm not surprised it's not directly to Omnibus, because I think Marvel's probably trying to pursue like a trade paperback strategy and see some heat from like libraries and scholastic books fairs, the way that they wound up having success with Squirrel Girl, with Miss Marvel. I mean, they've got a pretty decent Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. They've got a pretty decent track record. I would expect this next to go to the digest size format.
Well, it came out in digest size first.
Oh, have they already started? Yeah. I think that's why we're seeing it go through this format path.
Yeah, you're completely right. I completely forgot about that. I think it did really well in the scholastic book fairs, and because it's a slim digest book with the first 6 issues. So is it worth picking up the hardcover of year one? The first hardcover is not year one. The first hardcover is the first 6 issues, and then they did something that I've never seen done. They did 6 issues, the same 6 issues in black and white. So it almost feels like an artist edition. I don't know. But it's only the first 6 issues, so it's only half of the first year. So just to clarify for the people wondering about the hardcover. All right. You guys ready to get this party started now?
All right, let's go.
All right. So to recap, the Marvel Omnis, we're going to go through these, talk a little bit about them. Please join in the chat right now if you're watching, to talk about mapping and things like that, because it's something we love doing here, and what some of these books mean to me and us, especially Kurtis, who's the biggest omnibus collector I know. So let's go ahead. All right. New printing. I got to announce all of these. Avengers 1 through 4 are getting reprinted. So in case you missed it, both the direct market and the standard edition will be available on the same day. This one is coming out, I believe, August, right? August, collecting the first 30 issues of Avengers. Same thing we had before. John Romita Jr. on the standard edition, and then, of course, Jack King Kirby on the direct market cover. And yeah, we'll go through here and then come back and talk about these, Kurtis. Let's see. Volume 2. And this is where we stray a little bit because now we have annuals to add and we have an X-Men book and then not material from what, Kurtis?
Brand. You got to say it like that every time.
That's why I have him on the show. Okay. Let's keep going. So Avengers are being reprinted. Those are the ones that kick it off, as well as another Avenger, the Golden Avenger. Is that what people still call him? What do they call him now?
I think so, the Golden Avenger, yeah.
This is still the Golden Avenger? Oh, yeah. Iron Man is coming back to print. Now's your chance. Show Marvel that you still care about the Silver Age in omnibus format. This is a book that didn't do the hottest when it originally came out, but it
that's an understatement because you're friends with them now, but I can say nobody bought this the first time around.
It was liquidated. But now I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully there's more. I guess it did well enough because it got 2 omnis, right? Like the Silver Age got 2 omnis.
Yeah, but remember the way that it used to be, and this is you and I like got our start doing, is you could always tell what Silver Age book was going to come out because every Marvel movie got a Silver Age book, and it didn't matter how much the previous book sold or didn't sell. If there was a new Marvel movie, it got another Silver Age volume, and so that was it's just wild to me to now just see them get reprinted. He's not even in the movies right now, and it's getting reprinted because we have come a long way, baby, in the last 15 years. It's a whole new world of Marvel Omnibus.
It is. It really is. And like, it always broke my heart when people are like, Omar, what are the chances of an Iron Man Volume 2 getting reprinted and getting a Volume 3? Like, I want to remain hopeful. So I was like, we'll see, maybe they'll test the waters and reprint a Volume 1 and see if there's an interest now as opposed to back then when there really wasn't. I mean, Hulk was the same way. Hulk didn't sell that well and we got a reprint and now we're getting a Volume 2. So I guess it sold enough to get a Volume 2, the new printing. So we'll see how this one does. Spider-Man by Joe Kelly has been pushed until August. This is one of those creator-centric books. So you're going to be double dipping it once Brand New Day Volume 2 comes out. But this will also have things in there that will not be collected in any other omnibus. And I am talking about the Savage Spider-Man and Nonstop Spider-Man miniseries. I don't see those being collected anywhere else.
No. This is your shot, folks.
That's it. So if you have any interest in those books, I'm surprised. Well, I guess it's already too big that no Deadpool and Spider-Man made it in here. Maybe they'll do their own.
He wrote a little bit of it, and I was like, if you're gonna is anybody out there so rabid a Joe Kelly fan that they're gonna pick this up for like the pieces of Spider-Man, some of which are covered in other omnibuses, but then not want him writing Spider-Man and Deadpool? It just seems like a strange map to me. Like, I'm not trying to like yuck anybody's yum. I like a lot of the comics in this book, but it's just not the map I expected for a Joe Kelly Spider-Man omnibus.
Like I said, it surprises me. No Deadpool, no Spidey. Yeah. It's the Deadpool and Spidey. So a main part of it is the Brand New Day stuff. That again will be double dipping into Brand New Day 2. So I guess if you're impatient and you can't wait for Brand New Day 2, like some people were with the Dark Phoenix saga and Uncanny 1 when there was no sign of an Uncanny 2. Do you remember those days, Peter? And people were like, that's it. I'm buying Dark Phoenix saga because I know that we're never going to get an Uncanny 2. It was years in between. How times have changed. All right, let's go with the next one. And What If Into the Multiverse, my What If era. These are some of my favorite issues. The standard edition is the one over there on the right-hand side. That is Brian Hitch, I think. So who did that one?
Sure does look like him.
Yeah. And then, of course, a take on the coming of Galactus there. What if the Avengers had fought Galactus? So, big fan of this era. This was my What If growing up. I know there's people that love the original classic stuff, but this is the stuff that I grew up with. And we need one more volume to wrap up this series. So I hope it does well enough. And what's interesting is that volume 1 got delayed by almost a year. And they're going to go ahead and try to release volume 2 by August. So
is that when the second season of What If comes out on Disney Plus?
Yeah, and I think we're also getting that Marvel Zombies spin-off series too, and that's why we have that Marvel's Omnibus reprint. Mm-hmm.
So this I think the last issue in here, issue 75, is a Generation X issue. What if Blink never died? And that
spoilers. What if? What are you doing? I'm just kidding.
We've got like the full Generation X crew on video today. We're like the super fans.
Oh man, yeah, I love it.
And by that point, they stopped doing like What If Wolverine led Alpha Flight. Eventually, they'll just go to like What If starring Sabretooth. What If starring?
Yeah, that was right before that change happened, and so I think that there was a general shift in the way that they were writing the stories after that as well. And so this is the sweet spot. I think this volume 1 and volume 2 of the series are super great.
Yeah, I think by the end, well, I had stopped reading comics I didn't even make it to the end of What If volume, what will be in volume 3 if they ever make one. Although I'm curious about some of the stories I never did get to read. All right, let's keep on trucking so then we can talk to the chat. Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 4 is getting a new printing, and that is, of course, coming back with both covers, the direct market cover and the standard edition cover. Boy, that standard edition cover. That's a Frank Cho piece. I would have loved to have seen that just like a black and white cover.
The little box of the Goblin's face always I'm like I get parallelism, whatever. But it's such a strange little design element.
That's the one I have. So collecting issues 105 to 142, one of the biggest stories, one of the biggest characters in Marvel is also introduced during this particular era.
Yep. Yeah, there's some very, very seminal Spider-Man stories in this book, that's for sure.
This is post Stan Lee, too.
Yep.
So a lot of this stuff has been collected in epic format as well.
It sure has.
Secret Warriors is also coming back to print. This is another one that you all voted for. And Jonathan Hickman. This is where he got his Marvel start before he went over to the pages of the Fantastic Four. And some really good stories in here. I remember not wanting to dig this one because I wasn't the biggest Bendis fan even back then. And I was like, I don't care about any stupid characters. Who are the Secret Warriors? But I don't know what it was. He just hooked me. It was good.
And it's self-contained, too. If people aren't familiar with it and they just kind of know it from reputation, like, it's one big story. Hickman gets a little bit rushed at the end because he thought, I think he was going to have another arc or two to wrap it up. It kind of intersected with line changes. But this is a one-and-done omni. It helps if you've read Secret Invasion, but it doesn't need Secret Invasion. It's just one big story. And I remember when I first got the omni, just, like, reading it in bed every night after night. And because it's Hickman with those, like, dividing pages that aren't even full real covers because they don't have the numbers and things, you just totally get lost. You're like, how many did I read last night? Like 5, 8? You just like, you don't even know because it just flows and flows and flows.
I'm with you on that. Is Secret Warriors mandatory reading if I'm more interested in reading Hickman, F4, and Secret Wars? As somebody that needs to start with volume 1 of everything, I always say yes with things like this because little bitty things make it into his other books that start here. And so much so that some of it even makes it into the House and Powers of X.
I was going to say, I feel like I learned more from this that got reflected in Krakoa than I learned that got reflected in Secret Wars.
But the only thing I would say for Secret Wars is, of course, Avengers. His Avengers run kind of leads directly into Secret Wars.
Yes.
The Hick Vendors. And see, it's hard not to recommend Fantastic Four either.
So good.
All right. Next up, Kurtis. What do we got?
We have X Factor by Peter David, Omnibus Volume 3, coming in August.
Or X Factor Investigations Volume 2.
Right.
So we would need one more to wrap up this era of Peter David's X Factor run, right, Peter?
Oh yeah, I just mapped this on my blog, and there's enough room in that last one to not only get to the end of this run, but to easily fit in every issue of his all-new X
All new?
Factor,
That's
which
right.
followed this. I mean, it works out to the exact same size as these other books, so I fully
Nice.
expect a volume 4 to collect right up to the end of this, which I believe is issue 262, and then have that whole all-new X Factor series in it as well, so it'll have the entire breadth of Peter David on X Factor.
So I have a little behind the scenes for this one. When I announced it, sometimes Peter knows this. I've shot videos before where they're like, scrap it, or we're changing our mind on this, or that will be later. For this one, what I remember the most was when I recorded it, they had different covers they sent me, and David didn't know. So whenever he approved it, he's like, I am really confused. Those aren't the covers that we picked out. And I was like, that's what I got. So he let me run with one of them, and I want to say it's that Nick Bradshaw one, because I was like, I really like that Nick Bradshaw one, because that one connects with all the other X-Men comics at the time. But I think it was supposed to be, it was like originally something else. So that was the one that was that he let me keep. So sometimes they change their minds on covers, as you all probably see some whenever you see on PRH, covers get updated sometimes. Would you call that X Factor Investigations Volume 3, Peter? Or would you call it X Factor Investigations 3 and Friends, All New Friends?
I feel like you could almost subtitle it All New X Factor, because this stops right, even though Havoc's on the cover, this kind of cuts off right as Schism affects the line, and it doesn't really affect X Factor that much as a book, but Peter David kind of starts really tying off old plot threads in ways that are surprising and different. So if we had to like subtitle it, I would subtitle these two X Factor Investigations, and I would subtitle the next one like All New, All Different, but surprisingly the same X Factor.
Yeah. To me, I don't know how many people will appreciate it, but if you were reading this monthly, you could appreciate how amazing of a writer Peter David is, because not only is he writing about these C and D list characters, right? But these characters kept getting taken away from him to go and star in other titles, because some editor or some writer is like, hey, I want that Havoc and Polaris couple. I need them in my book. And Peter David just had to roll with the punches. He's like, oh, crap. Okay, well, I guess I'll put Hercules in the storyline, and then make up some stuff. It is just amazing that he was able to roll with the punches and stick with the book, and for the most part stick with the that landing that he started at the beginning.
Well, not only that, but at the very end of this, which would be in the next omnibus, he gets to that Lords of Hell storyline that he teased all the way back in his X Factor run. I just finished rereading that X Factor run with my kid in our X-Men reading order read, and I was like, I remember this because Peter David resolved it in like 2011. 30 years later.
Really quickly, I'm just surprised we haven't gotten an announcement for the second omnibus of Brubaker's Daredevil. That one didn't make it in our top 20 last year. So I'm serious. When they take that list seriously, like it's amazing, because Kurtis could tell you when we did the Epic Marvel reprint poll, they have reprinted all those books, and all but 4 from our reprint poll will be reprinted by the time this batch of announcements get made. So it's very important if you want that book to go and vote for it here. And then I believe that video will be up here in a week or so. So keep an eye on the channel. Because I always tell people if they want a book to make sure, they get it reprinted. Because while I see everybody's comments, there are people like, oh, it's so ridiculous. We haven't gotten Tomb of Dracula 2. I'm like, I feel you. I know. But if only 30 people voted for Tomb of Dracula 2 and 585 people voted for Daredevil Brubaker Volume 2, then as a publisher, what do? I mean, it's, it's a no-brainer. So it's very important that your voice gets heard. It's not very important that you make dummy accounts, though. That would be bad. Because some people tried that last year. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, let's see. Miles Morales Spider-Man by Saladin Ahmed Omnibus.
So Miles Morales Omnibus Volume 3. This is the post-Bendis era. So this is when Saladin Ahmed took over the book. Gave him his new costume, which a lot of people weren't happy with. Hey, finally, I think I just got used to it by the end of his run. And I just finally wrapped up his run. Introduces us to some new elements in there and brought in some things from the Ultimate Universe. No. Have either of you read his run?
Yeah, the thing I would say about it is I don't know that I ever loved his Miles voice perfectly, but I
Mhm.
love that Ahmed gave Miles his own continuity and his own things to do that never felt trivial. Like it felt like finally Miles had his own really epic stuff. I think when Bendis brought him over from Ultimate Universe and he couldn't just like kind of do the echoes of other storylines that we once did in Ultimate Universe, it just never really satisfied me, even though Bendis had such a great voice for him. This is kind of the opposite for me. The voice never really totally clicked, but it was just great to read Miles in substantial stories, and that for that reason it was fun. And the art was generally pretty great.
So as a, Bendis isn't one of my favorite writers, but I loved his Miles Morales. I thought his Miles Morales in the ultimate Miles Morales Volume 1, I say up until about the last 7 issues, because he does something very Bendis-y that I can't talk about because it will spoil something, because I wish he had left it alone. I thought was phenomenal. Like a really good jumping on point for a brand new character, whether you're in the Spider-Man or not. And I thought it was a really well done story with a lot of heart in it. So volume 2, when he comes to the 616 universe, you're right. It seemed like recycled storylines and things that I'd seen in other books. There wasn't a uniqueness to it. This was fun, but you made me realize maybe it was his voice. I see what you mean. Because Bendis had it down.
I jumped off of the title after 10 issues. I wasn't into it, so I gave it a fair shot.
You did. 10 issues is a fair shot these days.
Yeah. This is a big Omni, hey? There's a lot in here. This is like 50 issues, I think.
They've been doing a lot of big Omnis lately. I mean, you've seen Squirrel
Well,
Girl.
it's huge. Yeah.
It's
Squirrel
so
Girl is-
big. I never thought they'd get it all into one book, honestly.
Squirrel Girl looks like it looks like it has a flat spine. It's so big.
It does.
Like, seriously. I shared it on our social media and people were like, I'm so worried. Is that the flat spine? I'm like, no. It just looks like it because it's so big.
Too big. It'd be better for two volumes.
Oh, quit being a weenie, Kurtis.
Or it'd be better for 3
Break
epic
your arms
collections.
out some. Make you feel like a
3
man
modern
reading
era Squirrel Girl, modern era epic collections.
And they never finished it in oversized hardcover,
No, they
did
didn't.
they?
They didn't.
Yeah, kind of
No.
annoying.
They say same thing happened with Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the next one. Marvel Age Omnibus.
I have to admit, I am the target audience for this nonsense. I'm probably going to break down and buy it.
So I have a friend of mine who doesn't get Omnis. He only gets trade paperbacks, and he pre-ordered 2 copies for him and his brother. He was like, I have to do it, man. I love this stuff. Because we grew up in this era, and this was our gossip. This was our little gossip magazine. It's where we heard all the little rumors of things that were coming and then things that sadly never came. And what David told me, though, is that they're collecting everything. Nothing is being taken out.
Okay, then I have to get it.
So you know what that means, right? I mean, we're going to get covers with licensed characters. G.I. Joe, Transformers.
I wonder if, and Kurtis tends to really understand these things well. I wonder if it's because it's like more journalistic. It's not like it's a story with that character. It's just like an article about that character. And so maybe it's a different reprint right situation.
That's definitely true, because all of the any article that's about, Care Bears or whatever it's an editorial, so it's editorial property of Marvel. If they're going to reprint the artwork, that's a different story. But if it's a sample to accompany an article, that's fair use. So I think that they can skirt the issues with copyrights a little bit with this sort of thing. I am excited about this too. Because I don't think that there's any hope that we're going to see them put this in a trade paperback as well. So I might just.
I think it's going to be like the handbook. I also don't see those handbook books being made in the trades, but I don't know.
I love the articles. I think it's a great research tool.
It is,
to have. Like it's really great for people who want to know more about this era. There are so many articles in this book of projects that never came out because they were promoting it, then it got canceled, and everything about the new universe is in here. Star Comics is in here. Like, I probably will pick up this omnibus.
I really think it's one of those somebody said it best in the chat. It's like a time cap. Thank you, Arthur. How are you, brother? It's a time capsule book. It means absolutely nothing to people that, you know, got into comics after the internet, but we didn't have the internet growing up. And I sound like an old man.
No, but this was our CBR.
This-
like you
this
bought Marvel
was-
Age for $1 because you were like, what do people care about? What's hot? Who are these creators?
This is where you found out about new books. This is
Pre-Wizard.
what you got excited. Like, and yes, it's pre-Wizard magazine who did all the hyping in the 90s. This is what we had. And there were so many things when I was a kid I was excited for that never came to be. A lot of these X titles that were supposed to be spinning out, a lot of these creative teams that were supposed to be working on a specific book never got together. So it's definitely one of those books that brings back nostalgia. So there was
long did Marvel Age run?
Oh, go ahead, Curtis.
How long did Marvel Age run? It ran into the hundreds, right?
Yeah, it was well into the hundreds. Yeah,
There's probably a couple more omnis that they could do with this. And then after that, after they canceled that, not too long after that, they launched Marvel. I think it was called Marvel Visions.
Yeah,
which was like Marvel Age, but for a more contemporary audience or something. Yeah,
but to give everybody just a log line, because people are like, "What is it? What is it?" Because we're talking about it in different ways. It's a Marvel promotional magazine comic book. It's not a who's who. It's not a directory of characters, although sometimes it had that aspect. It was Marvel's in-house hype book, but for that reason, it had tons of interviews with creators, sample art, promotions of things. This is where they would like tease an upcoming storyline, like Fall of the Mutants with the first promo art.
Yes, that's where you get the cover. That's where you get that cover. It came from Marvel Age, so it meant a lot to us old people.
And there are tons of Fred Hembeck cartoons in here. If you are a fan of Fred Hembeck, which I am, I love Fred Hembeck. So this
bullpen stuff too.
Yeah, totally. This is all of the stuff that you find at the back of Omnis or the back of Epic Collections and bonus features. This is essentially a whole omnibus full of bonus features.
Somebody said it's not a volume 1. I don't know how well this will do, honestly. You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
I honestly have no idea, and it might just be one of those books that's like, you get it, and it'll probably never be reprinted because it didn't sell that well. So
yeah,
I don't know. I can't speak for this one, but I can tell you there's certainly an age demographic that's excited for this one, and a whole lot of people that have no idea what this is or why they're printing this instead of Ultimate Spider-Man 4. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Now, here we go. This is my jam right here. Some cross-gen omnis, baby. Very, very, very surprised that this actually made it out. I had known about it for a little bit, but they wanted me to wait to make the announcement until after they released a trade paperback, I think it was, or maybe it was just like a collection of cross-gen titles. And this is one that's all and done. This is everything for Sigil, and it's just this universe that was created and did not last long enough because there were some phenomenal talent working on these books, and it's not part of the Marvel universe. This was just part of the buyout. This was its own publishing company, Crossgen was, and I believe.
We even it's actually pronounced Sigil, not Sigil.
Sigil.
Yeah, Sigil. But
comic fans will make up the way to say a word, and they will say that for 30 years.
The last time, and I thought I was corrected. Okay, whatever. So this is an era of comics that brings me back to coming back to comics. It's that early aughts era where this publishing company just kind of came out of nowhere, and they were just hiring all the hot talent. I mean, Ron Mars and Jim Chung were working on Scion at the time. Sojourn was another one of my favorites. So yeah, very excited for this one. I don't know if you two have read it. I don't know if you liked.
No.
Okay, I don't know if you had.
I haven't. I'm gonna wait for the cross-gen Epic Collections when they start up that line.
We had a conversation with our viewers the last time. Does anybody remember what they were called? The anthologies? Was it Edge and Forge? Is that what they were called? So
right.
Cross-gen, they can just reprint those, put two together, and make it an epic collection. There you go, Kurtis.
I mean, Star Wars is coming to an end. They only have 2 more volumes to announce for Star Wars Epic Collections, and then they need something to replace that whole line. So why not cross-gen?
Yeah, and you know, there's just as many cross-gen fans as Star Wars fans. That's well known.
Wow. Okay, Marvel H ran 140 issues and 4 annuals. Woo! That's a lot. Yes, Edge and Forge were the anthology trade paperbacks. I had several. I remember picking up a couple. All right, let's keep going back.
Now we're into September.
Now we're moving into September, so we have Avengers Omnibus Volume 3, as well as, go ahead, Curtis, with the next one, Avengers Omnibus Volume 4. Both coming back to print, the exact same mapping, the exact same covers. Probably the different printer. I don't know. They haven't been printed yet, but they are coming back in September. And that, of course, means...
Ta-da!
Avengers Omnibus Volume 5. Little behind the scenes. Let's just say there was an email chain going that they had forgotten that it was an Avengers anniversary. And David's like, oh, I guess we need to do something about that. So they went and they went back and said, okay, we're adding 1 and 2 this month, and 3 and 4 will be added this month, and we got to get 5 out by September. And here we are. So that's how fast sometimes these things work. When you have some fool in his basement reminding the publisher that, hey, it's also an anniversary of the Avengers. And that's how we got Avengers 5. Not because of me, but because David had to move some things around and be like, oh, okay, well, we'll just do this. We'll probably have to push that reprint, and you'll see a book that had to be pushed back to December. It's the only book we have here, but that's how we got it. And finally coming out. Long time, too. Been a while since we had an Avengers Omnibus. Classic Avengers.
Yeah. You know, Omar, it might almost be time for a Map My Avengers, because we're up to 150 here. There's some later ones from the Leather Jacket and crossover eras. We're closing in on a complete mapping of Avengers, and we have the epics as a guide in between.
Baby, you know my schedule's open. Anytime you want to come back to Map My whatever.
All right.
You know I'm ready. I know people have been asking me, so. But yeah, this brings back a lot of hope for the fact that there'll be more and more Silver Age books with future volumes, like Fantastic Four Volume 5. I would love to see that. All right, Curtis, let's keep on rocking. Oh, hold on really quick. They knew about Sergeant Fury's or Nick Fury's anniversary. That's why we're getting a Epic Collection.
Thank goodness.
That's why he came back to that. So unfortunately, not everything can be omnibus format, right? Some things just sell better as epics, and we need a Stern Vengers. Is that what we're calling it? I like that.
Stern Vengers.
Stern Vengers. Captain America is also coming back to print. Trial of Captain America with a new volume number on the back, not on the spine. So
that's cool.
Volume numbers, they're borrowing that from their epic lines, and they're going to do it only for creator-centric books because it gets confusing. And I think it got confusing because when I got the list, they had the Return of the Winter Soldier, and I had to remind him that was Volume 5, that we haven't had a Volume 4 yet. And he was like, oh, these books don't have a volume number, so they get confusing. So then they went back and said, okay, we'll do Trial of Captain America here, and then we'll do Return of the Winter Soldier then. So now they even with the reprint of Volume 3 coming later this year, they will have a volume number in the back. So for people that just can't keep tabs on where these books go. All right. Yes, sir.
Phoenix Omnibus Volume 2.
Let's talk about this book really quick. I tried. You know what I tried. Peter knows exactly what I tried. What to add in here for a Phoenix Omnibus that hasn't been collected anywhere else that would make this book sell like hotcakes. I really tried to put those X Factor issues in here. Because my argument was like, if you do that, then we have everything in oversized format.
And then you could still do a full X Factor Volume 1 that goes past that, but at least people would fly. And it's got X Factor 1 in it. Like, and Avengers 263 and Fantastic 286. We're like 8 issues away. I'm sorry, I have to just rage. This absolutely puzzles me. It's a completely incoherent reading experience. The one thing you could call it, and the cover should reflect this, it's a Rachel Summers omnibus. It's about Rachel's time as the Phoenix, and it has, in my opinion, the best Phoenix story of all time from Excalibur 42 through 50, which I just reread by Alan Davis. That Phoenix continuity has since been completely dropped, but is the most satisfying, Phoenix as a Galactic Force story that we'll ever get, better than anything that has happened since then. But this book is basically like Jean in a dream sequence and Jean coming back for the 3 X Factor issues, and then it's a Rachel Summers book. So, I mean, Rachel Summers is one of my all-time favorites, but the map, the marketing, the covers, nothing about this makes sense to me.
I really do love that art germ piece, though.
It's so beautiful. It just doesn't make sense.
And I get it. At the end of the day, all I can do is suggest things, right? And then they get back to me, and they're the ones that map it and make the call, and they decided to keep it as is because they're focusing on Phoenix. And I get that. But I was like, oh, man, but it's only issues 2 through 8, and then the annual. That's it. Like, that's just a little bit. So they decided no. And I mean, I don't know how well this will do. I mean, one did well enough to get this. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of people on Twitter, at least from our social media page I saw, that were really excited about this because they're just fans of Phoenix. I forget that not everybody's crazy and has to have everything X related, that some people just like certain characters. So I do forget about that, that type of audience. So hopefully we will get some kind of modern epic, or I'm sorry, Kurtis, modern omnibus that features the Phoenix. That's something I would like to see because there's a lot of little series that haven't been collected anywhere. Yeah. And you're right, I really love those issues of Excalibur. But if you have Excalibur Omnibus Volume 2, those have been collected in there. But again, they have a target audience that usually, that also doesn't get every omnibus. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? I'd rather Marvel take chances and do books like this sometimes and see if they sell or not than just stick to the prescription, because then sometimes we get something really cool and imaginative, like the mapping of the Loki omnibus, right? And I don't think the Loki omnibus or the Doctor Doom omnibus could exist without them taking shots on other characters like Phoenix first. So maybe then we don't get a Wonder Man omnibus. So even if I don't like this map in particular, I'm not against Marvel doing these character omnibuses. I just think in this case, the mapping presents its own challenge.
Yeah. So we will see how this one does if I ever get to announce a Phoenix Omnibus Volume 3. So there we go. All right, Kurtis. I know you didn't even get 2 cents in there because I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that, Kurtis. Do you have any thoughts about that?
No, I concur. I'm not a huge fan of the hodgepodge collections. But...
Gotcha.
Like this one? No, just kidding. This one's fine.
What? This is actually a great thing. This is the brand new
super comprehensive. Yeah.
This makes me happy. I like the mapping. It's pretty much taking 2.5 of the complete collections, if I'm not mistaken, and putting them in one omnibus. So brand new day. It's after one more day. You can find out what all the hype is about. It's a great jumping on point for the life of Peter Parker, and hopefully this will lead into the Dan Slott omnibus or big time or whatever they decide to call it, because that would be really cool, because we are going to get like his magnum opus in Spider-Man collected in omnibus format, and that is the Superior Spider-Man. I was hoping they'd start from the beginning, but Superior's good, so I'm glad people are finally getting that. Very excited about this one. I love the mapping, and this is also the brain trust era of Spider-Man, so you had people like Mark Waid, Bob Gale, who was known for writing Back to the Future. Mark Waid, Bob Gale, was it Mark Guggenheim also writing some of this too? Can't remember. Dan Slott was one of them, and somebody else was writing them too. It was Guggenheim. But you had 4 or 5 people writing Spider-Man like on a weekly basis. So they were cranking out different stories all the time. So,
and I find that, you hear that and you're like, well, what do I care? I'm getting in an omnibus. It doesn't matter to me. But I think it matters, because when you go back and read the pace of one of these runs that Marvel was like really pumping out on a weekly basis or at a writer rotation on, you can feel the kind of frenetic energy, and the books are willing to spend more time on like B-plot soap opera elements because they know that they have time to kill on the page because it's out every week. So I just think, as exciting as it is to be around for when these things come out like every week or bi-weekly, I think they go really well in omnibus because it just feels dense, and it really feels like a fully lived in character and run. So I love when this kind of Spidey stuff gets collected, and I love when books like they did at the end of 2021 with Beyond pump up to a weekly rotation. I think that's incredibly satisfying. I wish they would do that more often, honestly.
How did I forget? Thank you so much, Derek. It was Joe Kelly. He has an omnibus.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier.
The one thing that I wish they included in this were just all 3 issues of Spider-Man Extra. They just put in 1.5 issues here and like
But
there's just only
isn't that
one and a half
collected?
more.
Well, I mean, I think it's collected in the next complete collection, right?
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I think. Um, I would recommend Brand New Day because it feels more like a complete story, even though you have different teams working on the book. So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, there's a fun period. If you just like Spider-Man being Spider-Man, no, this is the period to read. This is fun. This is great modern Spider-Man.
This is back when,
And
after
that's what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole reason for One More Day was to get us just Spider-Man being Spider-Man. Let's get rid of all that continuity and Spider-Man being Spider-Man.
Yeah. Isn't it funny in hindsight, David? I don't know how you feel, Peter or Curtis, like how mad people were when this was coming out. How dare they do this to Peter Parker? Without going into spoilers on One More Day, in case people haven't read it, there was a big voice for, I'm never buying a Spider-Man title again. I don't care about this. How dare they do this to my favorite character? And it's still sold. Which, I mean, it's almost like the way it happens like nowadays whenever I hear about people not buying something because of certain creators on the book or because they're doing something to a character. In 10 years, I always wonder, like, how will that affect like when an omnibus comes out? Will people even care? Because people wanted Superior Spider-Man, and I remember that got a lot of hate too.
Oh, people were angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll say this. Like, it's easy. I'm somebody who also says I'm not going to read that book right now. But the challenge is if Marvel has the plan and the fortitude editorially to really stick it out and go somewhere. I think when they announce a big change and there's not a really it's not a story they needed to tell. They're not like totally going to stick with it, and it gets all that negative press and fan reaction, and then they cut it short. Like, yeah, that omnibus is not going to be satisfying because they didn't stick with it. But like with this, they were like, look, Spider-Man's got to go somewhere. He's our flagship character. In order to get somewhere with him, we've got to do something. And so, as much as there was hate at the time, it reads pretty darn well now. Especially if you have no idea what happened in issue 545 before this, and you just pick this up. It just seems like fun Spider-Man. You don't have to bring all that baggage with you.
Yeah. Did I just slip up? It's in the next volume. I'm sorry, to clarify, in the next volume of the complete collections is what I was saying. So because they're putting these together by complete collections. Please don't take that as a hint, because I don't want people mad at me going, he said that there was going to be a Brand New Day too. I promise I have not heard about that one. But I do, here's a hint for the people that have been with us. I do have one new Spider-Man announcement. New Spider-Man book to announce.
Oh.
And maybe some of those reprints. So that's all I will say. There's your hint. It's Final Shadow here, so you can mark the hint at the time. Okay, let's keep going.
Next.
Yes, that's another one. Wokenado, thank you. People were complaining about Scott Snyder on Batman. After Black Mirror, like the New 52 got a lot of hate too. And it just happens in hindsight.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't like any of those runs. So sometimes your hate is eternal. Speaking of which, here's some Star Wars books.
So this collects a lot of the stuff.
Let the anger flow through you.
It's Dark Empire. So I'm super excited to have it in an oversized format. It's a big book. And volume 1 was solid, but I think the better stories are in here. I like volume 1 so far, but volume 2, I think we'll have the better stories for Star Wars. Have you read this stuff in Epic Collection, Curtis?
Yeah, I have. This is some of the earliest Dark Horse material that came out in the 90s. A lot of great stuff. Like you said, the Dark Empire trilogy is fantastic. Those Boba Fett one-shots are a lot of fun, and they do so much for defining Boba Fett as a character. And the only, let's see here, Heir to the Empire, I think, is can't remember what story that one is.
Well, you have the Dark Empire trilogy, right? You have Dark Empire 2 and Empire's End. So that's the trilogy there. Heir to the Empire, was that the
Thrawn?
There's a lot
that's
in
the
here.
Thrawn. That's the Thrawn story.
Okay.
Yeah, I am. I'm partway through that one. I think I haven't read that one yet, but yeah, this is going to be a very, very popular one because of the Dark Empire story. So get it before it sells out. That's for sure.
Because
those
epics,
the epic went super fast,
sold out so quick. Yeah, this is a big one. Even if you don't have volume 1, this is one that I think I could live without Volume 1 and still read this one, just because I've read some of the stories in here. I haven't read any of the Boba Fett stuff. I don't know, that stuff could suck, but the other stuff I've read is solid.
It doesn't. It's great. It's and the artwork for the Boba Fett, those are, it's Cam Kennedy who did the Dark Empire.
Oh yes, and I love he's got like this European feel to his art. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I see that Peter has a lot to say about this. So we'll just move on to the next book.
Okay, the next one, Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus
Of
Volume
Ultimate
3.
Spider-Man.
I'm going to tap out while you guys talk about this one. I'll be right back.
Okay. So
Okay.
as the guy that makes the videos announcing all of these books, I see the reaction that people make. Like I know, I know what gets the most love, and I know where people are like, and I know the ones that people are like, oh, what a waste. Despite of how people feel about Ultimate Spider-Man, that is the most beloved videos I've had on the channel. Those are the fastest ones that get shared. Any announcement of Ultimate Spider-Man, those are the ones that people just will hit that like button that I've never seen being hit before. So people love this stuff, and it doesn't matter if it's
great.
2 or 3. Like they just love it, and they want so much of it. So that makes me happy. Like I get it. I get the love for this stuff, and. So on the left-hand side, you have your 2 direct market covers, including one with Ultimate Moon Knight, cashing in on that Moon Knight love recently. And then the standard edition cover is actually really solid in this one. That's from issue 100. So this will have the final issue by Mark Bagley, which broke the long streak of Stan Lee and Kirby, right? Kirby streak.
On Fantastic Four.
FF.
That's great.
And it that issue also has the Stuart Eminem too, right? 111. Like it's his first issue.
Think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now this series, this volume also has a new version of the Clone Saga, the ultimate version of the Clone Saga, and it's a lot of fun. They go in some different places.
That part did make me laugh when he keeps staring at his female clone, and she's like, "Stop it, you're free." Yeah. So yeah, I like Ultimate Spider-Man after Bagley, but that Bendis Bagley run is golden. Larry, how are you doing, buddy? Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you. Yeah, so, wonderful. So, anything to add, Peter? Are you a fan of Ultimate Spidey?
No, you know me. I'm a 616 dedicated reader. I've never read an Ultimate issue of anything, nor will I ever. I don't have the time in my life. There's plenty of 616 to read.
Peter. You got to read this one.
You just why? I don't like Bendis or Bagley or Spider-Man. There's zero appeal.
What about Bagley?
Okay, well, fair enough.
You just didn't read Ultimates 3 and Ultimatum. That was the problem, Peter. That's how we're going to break you into the Ultimate Universe.
Oh, goodness.
All right, let's move on out of this Ultimate Universe to talk about
the kind of terrible stuff that I love.
Oh, what are you talking about? Terrible, this stuff is great.
No, there's some good Wolverine in here.
Besides those Mark Pacella issues, oh man, do I love this era. This actually has some of my favorite issues in there, 75 included. I love that issue. So Wolverine Omnibus Volume 4, one of my favorite announcements, just because it makes me so happy that it started with a joke about betting on whether Wolverine 1 or would sell or not. And now we have 2 and 3 physically and 4 coming out later this year. Wow. Brings a tear to my eye. I love it.
Look at us now.
Love it. And look how good we are, man. We mapped this one too. They didn't give me my
Global Jeopardy in there. I had my concerns.
They didn't give me my Charlton Chew in Volume 3.
Don't even get me started on that Charleston Chew. In my dreams, I'm still checking my mailbox for a Charleston Chew comic that never came, Omar.
I got my copy though. Oh man, so it does have the 2 big issues of Fatal Attractions in there. Sabretooth. Can we talk about how awesome that Sabretooth miniseries is with oh my goodness. I need to know how to pronounce this man's name. Peter, how do you pronounce Tex's name?
Texiera?
Texiera. All right, Kurtis, you go.
I think that's right, Texiera. I'm not sure though.
Feel like
I haven't heard it. No.
So many different ways. Texeria? Something like that. Anyway, so Tex, as I like to call him, his art on Sabretooth was so awesome. And that's where we get like the development of Birdie, who, if you played the fighting game, Birdie, that character, that's where she comes in, and you get her fleshed out. And this is where you see him eventually joining the X-Men, if you will. But also a big turning point for our favorite Canadian, and not Kurtis, Wolverine, because of something that happens on that cover.
I will say the first few issues in this omnibus are not the strongest Wolverine issues of all time. I mean,
60,
except for the
61,
art.
62.
It's going to be beautiful to see the Texier art big because it's just, I don't even think an epic collection can do it justice, honestly. But the stories at the beginning of this, not my favorite Wolverine stories, but then it really, really escalates. And this was the period that like Wolverine was an extra X book. And that really wasn't the case before like 50 or maybe like 45. But there's a lot of like X-Men guest stars, Professor X sending Storm to check on him, Jubilee's there, Gambit's randomly on a mission. So this is when Wolverine is very much an X book.
Yeah, because it ties everything to the X-Men and bringing it back. So when you're talking about Wolverine and not his best stories, it goes back to the whole Shiva scenario that they introduced, the idea that there's other Weapon X people out there. And I just remember as a kid being so excited. I'm like, I can't wait to see Wolverine and Wildcat team up and Mastodon. It's going to be the best story ever. And those characters never showed up. Not a spoiler. It's just that things didn't happen the way that I think Larry Hama intended them to happen. Oh my goodness, there's so many different ways of pronouncing Tex's name. Teixeira, but his name is Tex, right? Like Tex. Teixeira. Okay, I think the three of us said it differently. So
we need to get him on your stream and do an interview.
You know what? I think so too.
Oh my gosh, could you get him? I would be such a fan kid if you got him and I could see you interview him about his 90s comics.
Love his 90s comics, man. It's so good. Issue 65 made me cry, man. I know you hated it, but I love that issue with Silver Fox and the cabin. Oh man, that story was awesome to me. And this also has my wife's first comic books too, with Wolverine number 69, 70, and 71, with Dwayne Turner doing the artwork for those. So this will be special for her, but for me, it's more Wolvie. Of course, I'm excited about this one. This is one I don't mind the mapping at all. It's great. Well, go ahead, Kurtis.
Is issue 75 the one with the yellow cover with the die cut claw marks in it?
No, it's 50.
That's issue 50. Get out of this stream. Why do I even invite that guy?
That's okay. He's going to kick me off in a couple of books. Everybody's got a chance.
I'm just kidding.
That was the first Wolverine comic I ever got. I couldn't remember what number it was. It's interesting though that this omnibus only has 15 issues of the actual title in it. The Wolverine was in so much at this time.
Oh yeah.
That this whole omnibus only has 15 issues of the actual title.
And
look how many
that
issues
beautiful Marvel Age cover.
Only 8 pages each, but it's a lot of presents.
Look at that beautiful Marvel Age cover. That's the one I'm going for. I love the other covers. By the way, the cover down here, I don't know if you know or not. I'm sure Peter probably does because he has a whole database in his head like I do. But that is the trading card, the holographic card that was on Wolverine 75. That's the artwork for it by Adam Kubert. So you know how like Fatal Attractions, like issue 25 here had like a little trading card or a holographic card that went on it. Yeah. That's the one that was for Wolverine 75. So I love the fact that they're actually using the art on the card instead of Wolverine 75. Which is
I got to tell a quick anecdote that I've never had the chance to tell on the internet before. So I had all these covers. This was my prime collecting years. And those little holographs on the cover, they were attached like a trading card. They weren't built into the cover. And I remember I brought them all on vacation down to the Jersey Shore, high class. And I was so insatiably curious one night that I peeled it off of the cover so I could like have it just as a trading card. And as soon as I did, I had this reaction of like, oh, what have I done? I ruined my near mint comic book. I took the holograph off. It's not going to be worth anything. So the next morning, my mother was like just waking up to go to the beach. I'm like, Mom, we've got to go to the comic book store. I have to replace the comic book. She's like, you're literally holding it in your hands. Why do you have to replace it? I'm like, I took the holograph off.
The holographic card off, you monster.
I have 2 copies of it. One with the holograph torn off very carefully, and one intact with a holograph still on.
How dare you treat your books like that? We have some really good.
Help it. My curiosity got the better of me, and I got my fingernail under the edge of it, and it just had to go with it.
Hey, Sean. This one's coming out in September, buddy. We got a couple questions here. I love this comment by Hawk Rider. Kubert cover all day. But there are two Kubert covers because there's Andy and Adam, so maybe he's playing it safe. Really quickly, I just want to say, if you live in Europe and you want to pre-order a lot of these books, all these books, if you want, more power to you. Check out Walt's Comic Shop. They're out of Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for all Marvel and big DC books. Flat shipping rate of 12 euros for all EU countries. And they also offer a superb collection of out-of-print books. And if you write near mint condition, use that code, all one word, at the checkout. You get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order of over 40 euros or more. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Tane, there, did my wife justice. All right, next. Wonder Man, The Early Years. Another one of those books that I was surprised to see. I was surprised to see because I didn't see the content of this one, so I didn't know they were going to go with the classic era. So when I saw that it was just called Wonder Man Omnibus Volume 1. So now they've changed it to Wonder Man The Early Years Omnibus Volume 1. So when I saw it, I was like, oh wow, we're going to go with the 90s Wonder Man, which, you know, was part of the books that I used to read with Jeff Johnson, I think, on artwork, if I'm not mistaken. But this is The Early Years. This is another hodgepodge collection of a character. Unlike Black Panther, where he kind of had, like, you know, his early years were a hodgepodge of early Avengers, and then he got his own jungle adventure starring Black Panther. You didn't really get that from Wonder Man. As a matter of fact, you don't get Wonder Man 1 until what, the 80s, like 85, I think. Let's see, 86.
Oops, right.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, and you know, especially as I make these comic guides for crushingkrisis.com, and like I go into characters like this, some of them have really clear greatest hits that you could easily put together, and some of them you really got to span a whole era like this to like understand who they are and their development. And that's why I'm not all negative on things like this. If you're really excited for this Wonder Man show that they're going to do and you want Wonder Man, there's literally no one book you can pick up that's going to be satisfying to you. Look how far apart these issues are, right? So like, I think you kind of got to do this. Like we can't gatekeep modern fans from loving these characters we love by being like, well, you're going to need to read 160 issues of Avengers to get his first 8 good issues of stories. So I'm actually in favor of this. I think they should do it for all the major MCU Avengers, quite honestly. I just did a Wasp guide, and the greatest hits of Wasp look very similar to this. You got to pick and choose, but when you do, you get a really rich story, and that's how you get people into loving these characters and appreciating them being used in the modern idiom.
Yeah, that is a really good point. And again, it goes back to the whole Phoenix conversation we had, that not everybody gets X-Men, all of X-Men, right? They're just interested in one character. So if Wonder Man's your dude, or if you have any interest in him after the TV show or maybe supposed movie cameo. Jungle Action, strike 1 for Omar. Thank you, Phil Owens. How is that only strike 1, though? I said that you were the reason why we have more Venom epics and modern epics. That should have been strike 2 for me. Oh my gosh, Watch Omnibus is that far off now.
I think that for Wonder Man, it's different than the Phoenix story, where Phoenix had like a couple of different key stories, but Wonder Man, his character completely changed like over and over again through these early years. So to be able to combine all of those stories into one place and be able to show that evolution of character is probably a good thing, especially during those Vision and Scarlet Witch issues where it's like now he's confronting Vision and the Grim Reaper, and they're all like, there's this huge family dynamic going on that's completely confusing, but now we have it all laid out.
And a little behind the scenes, that cover to issue number 1, which is, I believe, Bill Sienkiewicz, that was going to be the direct market cover at first, but then they decided to change their mind and go with something that I guess kind of looks more like the era, right, that we're covering here for the most part. But that cover also has him like with his new outfit, like the red jacket that he has. Yeah. Which announced Omnibus? I want to ask these gentlemen and all of you at the end what I'm most excited for. But I'm also going to be throwing some hints as to the announcements after we're done with going through some of these. All right, let's keep on moving. What's next, Kurtis?
I don't even think we're halfway through here. Guardian Devil Gallery Edition. Something happened? Did something happen to
I
Omar?
can hear you. I think maybe Omar's power went out again. So
I think
this
we
is
lost him.
the 1998 era relaunch of Daredevil, as all the books relaunched in 1998. That this is Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I was
And Joe
saying when
Quesada.
internet decided to cut me off. Go figure.
This
Yeah.
was an important book. This was an important book because it kind of launched a new era for Marvel Comics. A new, darker, more serious, gritty era for Marvel Comics.
This is
And,
the Marvel Knight stuff. So it's Joe Quesada and Kevin Smith. It's good. And Palmiotti. Don't forget about his inks too. Really good.
Yeah, so this is going to be good. There's a lot of detail in this. This is some of Quesada's best work, I think. And he to see it this big is going to be pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. Really good story. All right. Let's keep on rocking because this kind of just wants to kill me for some reason. Finally coming back to print, Alpha Flight. Same.
Y'all gotta buy this so I can get my volume 2, y'all. We gotta have an agreement.
You know how hard I'm fighting for them to change Alpha Flight from Alpha Flight by John Byrne to Alpha Flight Volume 1.
Volume 1, yeah.
Here's a Matt Mike and Kurtis. You like Alpha Flight, right? Am I mistaken in recalling that?
You may think that I like Alpha Flight just because I'm Canadian, but this book.
But he hates
effect, Corona effect.
No, I don't hate this. I've read very little Alpha Flight. Actually, it's a little embarrassing. But the stuff that I have read, it's like this is not actually a Canadian team. This is just an American written team that happens to take place in Canada.
He's calling them carpetbaggers, folks.
Dude,
you heard it here first.
John Byrne is Canadian. Right?
Yeah, but he's writing it exactly the same as he writes any of his team books. There's nothing distinctly Canadian about it.
What are you talking about? There's a lot of snow on the ground in the first couple of issues. There's a whole issue called Snowblind where it's just white panels. That's the most Canadian thing I've seen in a comic book. This is how I get canceled, folks. That's the most.
I'm waiting for it to drift across from the weather to the Canadian stereotypes, and then things get heated. Look, I'm just saying. I think we got to map this. I think there's a way through.
Bill Mantlo era. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
yes.
Just the whole thing. There's only 130 issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would take it all the way to Niciesa and Scott Lobdell's horrible run. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. That sounds like a plan. All right, let's keep going. I can't believe Kurtis is not. So not proud of being Canadian. Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer, Omnibus Volume 2. So wrapping up the entirety of Nick Spencer's run in omnibus format. This is the kind of stuff that I like seeing because it gives me hope that when runs are done, Marvel immediately thinks, let's just go ahead and put that into a big omnibus format. A lot of people are like wanting the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run. But me, I'm hoping like, let's just wait a little bit until he's done and then they can see how many they can make. Because if it's one and then we have like 10 issues left, who wants that on their shelf? But if it's one and then, if they know how many issues there are, they can split it into two or give us a big fatty.
And it just gives me confidence in the omnibus line that they're willing to, it shows me there's buyers out there like this. It's so fresh. It's so new. And it's Marvel saying like, we know that if there is a complete run of a signature hero that was, that really had some buzz around it and we put it out in omnibus, people will buy it. And I love that for them. And I love that for us.
100%. And I know, Kurtis, you haven't read this because it's not in epic formats.
I've read all the contents of Volume 1, but I think I stopped reading this run by this point. Yeah.
Gets a little circular in this back half. The art continues to be really great, but I just think that, not my favorite Spider-Man run.
I will say it's not my favorite Spider-Man run, and it gets a little bit weaker in Volume 2, but there's one thing that makes this run worth it for me.
Especially it pays off in a couple of satisfying ways for people who've been reading Spider-Man for a long time.
If you dislike a certain story without going into spoilers, this fixes it, and it almost makes the run worth it. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Nothing. Lips are sealed.
Okay. Let's keep going there, Kurtis. Black Panther by Christopher Priest. Heck yes. My favorite run on Black Panther. collected finally all in 2 omnis. So
And with the crew in it as well. Thank you,
oh
Marvel.
yes, I don't think that was part of their complete collection. If I'm not mistaken, I can't recall or not. And then of course even throwing Thor 370 in there, which has a follow-up story in this. But I'm just glad that it's finally collected all in 2 omnis. It's a great run. A little bit of a slow burn, not for everybody, because it definitely has that 90s flair to it, but I really liked it. Canadians ain't that different from Americans. I don't know. Kurtis seems to apologize a lot to me for making mistakes. I don't know why. He's so nice. He's a lot kinder. He's a lot nicer. See? Look, he's apologizing again.
They already called me on the chat for apologizing for my rage earlier, so I finally integrated into New Zealand society.
How do you two feel about his run? Priest run?
I haven't touched it. Sorry, I haven't read it. Yeah.
Priest is such a specific thing. The way he like jumps around, the level, how acerbic it is, how much the social commentary is baked into every comic Priest ever writes. It's not just like a standard superhero run that you can just turn the pages and like let wash over you. You got to be like mentally fortified. We way back in the day, before the first movie came out, I think Fariha and I did a review of this on our channel, and it's dense. So if you're just looking for this like Black Panther book you can like whip through and it's a page turner, guess what? Black Panther doesn't have a lot of that in his comic books history. And so I would just say Priest, it's dense. It's denser than you think. The issues take a long time to read.
In the first volume, the other thing that happens is that Joe Quesada wanted him to tell things out of sequential time. Yeah, so it jumps around so much, which was not his idea. He actually didn't like that idea. But by this time around, that there's a lot of things that get fixed, and he wraps up a lot of loose ends too. I'm a big fan. Hey, look. Hello from New Zealand.
I know. Am I having a clone saga? There's another Peter.
Peter lives in New Zealand. Warren is from Kentucky. And I feel like Warren and I are so different because he hates the X-Men. People from Ohio are different from us here in Kentucky. That is so true. All right, let's keep on moving. Wow. Tales of the Jedi all in this. This is gonna be a big one. Kurtis, did you do the math on this one? How many issues this collects?
Oh, I have no idea. It's gonna be big though. This is a great series. I just finished reading this, and it is so great. Again, a lot of early stuff. It starts with the Dawn of the Jedi stuff, which is more of the modern Dark Horse material. But once you get to the Tales of the Jedi, it's again stuff from the very beginning of when Dark Horse started writing Star Wars. Tom Veitch is the head writer for most of them, and it's broken up into miniseries, but it's actually just an ongoing series that got rebooted to #1 at the beginning of each story arc. It's excellent stuff. I really enjoyed this material.
All I know is there was one complaint when I saw on Twitter. I've not read this era, but they said that they should have separated that era, the 2012 era, the Dawn of the Jedi, from the Tales of the Jedi. I don't know how well these are selling. I assume it's Star Wars. They sell really well. Maybe they just thought it might sell better if it's an all-in-one. I don't know what the reasoning was, but it is a big book because this is 3 epic collections, right?
Yes, it is 3 epic collections worth, and those are thinner epic collections though. But yeah, the reason why it's at the beginning is because all of these Star Wars omnis are mapped in terms of the Star Wars timeline. They're not they don't go by era. I mean, they don't go by publication or anything like that. So the Dawn of the Jedi stuff does technically come before Tales of the Jedi, the series from the 90s.
Okay, so all right. Thank you for that, Kurtis. Next. Marvel's Omnibus. We just talked about how there is a Marvel zombie show coming out, and they're reprinting the Marvel's Omnibus, and this is the follow-up to that. Marvel's Omnibus returns, including a couple of one-shots and the 2015 series, which is the Battle Zone story with, what's her name? Elsa Bloodstone, which is a really fun story. There is some double dipping if you have Deadpool. Is it the minibus, Peter? The Merc with a Mouth.
Ooh, I don't. I'd have to bring out my Deadpool page. There's so much Deadpool. It's hard to
I think it's one of
hold it all in my head.
It's okay. I think it's one of those mini buses that has the Merc with a Mouth in it. So if you have that,
Mark with the Mouse also, I think, got its own line. Like, it was popular enough that it got its own OHC at the time. Yeah, but it's the minibuses have everything. There's no Deadpool issue has ever gone untouched.
Get a super chat. Thank you so much, Scott. Hey, Omar, any chance that we get Amazing Mary Jane mini in Spencer Omni 2? It's kind of essential for Sinister War. Somebody else had told me about that, and I'm writing down. By the way, this is another reason why I wanted to do this, was to write down some questions for Marvel. So if you have any like that, by all means, please add them here. So thank you so much for that. Somebody else earlier was asking about the Mary Jane miniseries, because it has something to do with the Sinister War, right? Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that was one that I think, if memory serves, got cut off by the pandemic a little bit. It had a first arc that was very kind of fun, and it had Mary Jane and also a little bit of Mysterio in it. It rolled into a second arc, and then it kind of just didn't get brought back. But it was actually a really fun read.
So I will try.
And also, an answer to the Merc with the Mouth question, that was actually in the Deadpool and Company omnibus, which focused on his team up stuff. So it had Deadpool core in it as well.
Thank you for that. All right, Kurtis.
These zombie books are a lot of fun. I like the zombie books. I haven't read all of these, but the Christmas Carol one is fun. And I wish that they, could get their licensing deals to include reprints and stuff like this, because the only thing missing here is the Army of Darkness Marvel Zombies crossover.
Yeah, that sucks. Those licensing things have to be a pain, especially when you're trying to map these things out. Yeah. Okay, if we're talking questions, hey Omar, can we get more Spider-Man and less X? No. I'm gonna say no. Look, you just got another Spider-Man book, Warren. Spider-Man 2099.
There's so much more Spider-Man in this set than X-Men. What? There's like 2 X-Men books in this whole
I'm saving the X-Men for next time. All right. Oh. Spider-Man 2099, and this is volume 2, collecting the 2014-2015 series, as well as some of the crossovers with Captain Marvel. Superior Spider-Man is in here, and Secret Wars 2099, the Battle Worlds era. Yeah. So I'm glad this is being collected.
Series, really fun.
Mm-hmm. People were asking if they could add that to the first one, and I remember asking, and at the time they said, sometimes David gives me hints like, no, we have plans for that, or maybe not. But I remember for this one, he said, I don't know, we may do a trade paperback of it someday. And look, love it. So call to volume 2. I love that. Volume 1 hasn't come out yet. It keeps getting delayed, but hopefully we'll get volume 1 and 2 in the same year.
I love that cover too, by the way. Wow, what a cover.
Yeah, I dig that one. All right, Kurtis. Woo, this one finally I got to announce. This is one of those videos when I announce people, I always say, now what are you going to ask for? Because it's so true, because this is one that's, when is this coming out? When is this coming out? When is this coming out? And for the last couple of months, I've known, and I can't say anything. So my answer is always like, I don't know. One day I'm sure we're going to get it. Which I tend to answer a lot of questions like that. But finally, we have one of the biggest answers to the question, how are they going to map it with War of the Realms? So War of the Realms is included in here. And I really hope that it's mapped kind of like the Van Omnibus by Donny Cates, with those issues in between issues of Thor. That would be great. But this wraps up that era. Needs a third Del Mundo cover. I let go of the cover fights because the last time we got them changed, and people still complain that they weren't the right choices, so they changed them again. And people were like, "Well, the thing is now a little bitty picture. Can't they blow it up?" And I could tell I can't step on that many toes. So the whole I stepped away from asking about covers changing. So this is it for now. If they decide to add a third cover, that's up to them.
And I'll say, if this is one of those things where the hype is real. Like I've read and reread and reread this run. If you saw the movie last year, the movie didn't give you the half of it. The movie was like the Cliff Notes version. If you love Thor, this is up there with Walt Simonson. It's probably like 1 and 2 with Walt Simonson for best Thor runs of all time.
Omar has a terrible poker face, so I can tell when he knows an Omni is coming. Or I'm so damn good at lying that I like luring people in a state of false security when they ask me
Or he
questions.
just makes weird faces all the time.
I do, especially when I'm around my wife. You can ask her.
You can let her know that I downloaded the full discography of Phil Collins to prepare for this in case she popped into the
Oh my gosh, she would love you for that. So yeah, I think all I can say about this one is enough said. People are gonna buy it. They bought the first one. I assume there's very little I can say about this one. I think the content is everything. I don't know what I would add in here. I mean, it would have been cool to add Valkyrie, but I don't see that happening. And if you all haven't read Valkyrie, that's another book that was phenomenal by Torun Grumbeck and Al
so
Ewing.
good, amazing, every issue incredible.
All right, let's keep on rocking.
I'll just say that I hope that when they get around to doing the Thor modern era epic collections, that they use this mapping, because rather than just rebranding the complete collections.
The complete collections?
Because they really need to have War of the Realms in here.
Yeah, I think so too. X-Men: The Hidden Years, collecting all of John Byrne's run on the Hidden Years and his the Fantastic Four 102 to 104. And material from X-Men 94 and Amazing Adult Fantasy 14. So to answer the question that I already know I'm going to be asked, why didn't they put It's Always Darkest Before the Dawn? Because they said that is enough material for its own oversized hardcover. Yeah,
it's 2 whole masterworks that are pretty substantial.
There's 2 masterworks and there's 1 epic collection. So yeah, whatever they decide to add to the omnibus will be more than the 2 masterworks and more than the epic collection, I'm sure. Sorry, Kurtis, but that's just the way it is. Like your letter page. This can stay hidden. Oh, wait till John Byrne finds out about that, buddy.
Oh no, don't summon the Byrne.
Oh, that's somebody I'd love to talk to, just so he can yell at me and walk away from my interview. Those are goals. Those are goals. All right, let's keep on rocking. Blade, the early years, one that snuck into the calendar and people knew about it, but I still couldn't say anything. And the reason for that was because this was originally supposed to come out way early this year. It was supposed to be March, I think, but they kept moving things around, so it was decided on November. So this does double dip a lot with Tomb of Dracula and collecting the early years of Blade. So it makes me happy that hopefully we will get a later years of Blade and get some of the Midnight Suns era and some Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, this is a good volume. If you like Tomb of Dracula, there is a great material for Blade. A lot of fun stuff. All of his early character development happens in that book.
And this is why I like when they take these shots. Somebody who's excited for the Blade movie is not necessarily going to want to read every issue of Tomb of Dracula, but he didn't have his own book. So like this has his debut, but it has the significant stories for him. And I think that's cool. Like there should always be one book stops or doorstop sized omnibus book of a character who's going to be the title of a movie. And Marvel has not been good at that in the past all the time. So like, yes, let's show some excitement for this. Not everybody's got all the Tomb of Dracula omnibuses on their shelves like I do and treasure them.
I sold mine because I couldn't find a volume 2.
No,
I had 1 in 3. So that was years ago, though. So you're right, because I have a friend of mine that was asking if there are omnis for Blade because he knew there was a comic book. And after I announced it, I'm like, hey, remember how you were asking me about that? Hey, it's actually coming out. So he's got like the Luke Cage omnibus, and he wanted one of these. So happy for the people that want this. So since they decided to pass on a comprehensive Hidden Years Omni, you think it'll be an additional DBFTD, X-Men, OHC, or an Omni? Oh yeah, I would love for them to call it X-Men 2.5. The X-Men 2.5. That takes us right into Uncanny.
It'll happen. It's a matter.
They're also they're reprinting that epic later this year, so you can, or did they already? Can't remember. I think it's coming out in a little bit.
Kurtis, aren't you the Marvel Epic Pop? Yes, they reprinted it already. Kurtis, oh my gosh. Just don't know what to do with you anymore, man. That's like 5 mistakes. That's okay. Nobody's keeping count.
I think up to 120 or something.
Let's keep on rocking. Captain America Return of Winter Soldier Omnibus mapped exactly the same way. So if you missed out on it the first time, now is your chance to get 3, 4, and 5. I think as of this video, Volume 1 is sold out again, right?
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy, but that's just the way these things are. So, and we're also getting a reprint of Daredevil by Mark Waid. You all voted for Volume 1 and Volume 2. With Volume 2 having new covers. This is another one that they sent me a different cover for the standard edition, and then they decided to change it again. So there we go. But now you have a Frank Cho cover on the right-hand side, and that's the direct market cover. The standard edition cover is on the left. So very happy for the people that didn't get a chance to buy these. It's a completely different era on Daredevil. For anybody that hasn't read it, this is a more lighthearted era, if you will. Even so much so, the art is very light and cartoony.
But I love Mark Waid doing. Oh, go ahead, Kurtis.
I was going to say Mark Waid changing the tone of the book like he did with Doctor Strange and Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And if you love the tone of Daredevil's appearance on She-Hulk last year, that's this book. Like it's a little goofier, a little smarmier, a version of Daredevil that we often don't get, even though he's had a cavalcade of amazing creators ever since 1998. Not always as wry and humorous, and that's what this version of Daredevil is. But also just really amazing visual depictions of his powers as well.
Yeah. Don't expect Frank Miller. It's not that type of story. Oh, no. But it's so good. And Jake, being impatient. That's okay, Jake. You help me out, buddy. What's next, Kurtis? No, we didn't. Hawkeye by Mike Fraction and David Aja. Omnibus coming this November. Collecting Hawkeye 1 through 22, Hawkeye Annual 1, and Young Avengers Presents 6, which is where that cover by Jim Chung came from. That's another one that they had a different cover for the standard edition, but then they decided to go back to the original standard edition. So, Michael Emmond, I just said how Canadians are so patient and kind. Slow your roll. That's coming, man. It got delayed, actually, to December. Yeah. So, this is Matt Fraction's era. This is one of those books that is standalone, could be read on its own. You don't need to know anything about Hawkeye. It definitely feels like a different take on not just Hawkeye, but some of the other characters in here. So to me, this almost honestly feels like a Tom King book, where if you treat it like its own little pocket universe, it can be a fun read. But if you read it like, oh, this is really taking the same time, like place at the same time that he's with the new Avengers, and it almost feels like a different character, and things just don't sync quite well. But it's one of those recommended reads. People love it. It's highly praised. It's won the Pizza Dog won all kinds of awards. So,
and again, if you love the tone of the Hawkeye show, that's this. Like it's not a direct adaptation of the plot of this, but tonally, that's the show that they made very much.
What I love about this book is it was Marvel allowing a creator to tell a story in a way that Marvel doesn't typically tell a story. It really, I think, it broke the mold for Marvel to do more of this kind of stuff. Just the way the panels were laid out, the way it was jumping through different, like following one path and then taking a break and following another path, and like it really did things different, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I love this, Ron.
Really quick, hold on a second. Anyway, you can tell David or Marvel not to change the spine design from the previous printings like they did Daredevil. Brubaker reprint would mess up the shelf look for those of us that have Volume 1. I stay away from the spine conversation since the last big spine gate or whatever people were calling it. I was in the middle of that, and let me just say that caused a lot of stress for me and my family because I understand. And I'm also trying to communicate, in between people's concerns, and it was just the change that they wanted to do. And like, then I got yelled at like it was my fault. Like I was this part of the secret Marvel committee that I'm like, let's piss everybody off and change the spines. So I try not that's a designing thing. I don't really have anything to do with that. I mean, I can suggest it, but more than likely they're just gonna be like, ignore. So sorry. But content, yeah, I can try to get in there. Try to, do some things. Yeah, I believe the hashtag was Spinegate. I don't know who made that, but it really made me mad when some of my videos were being tagged. I'm like, what are you all doing? I don't need this nonsense.
The healthy way I try to think about it is like, whether we like their choice or not, Marvel, they can be experts in graphic design and experts in what they want to present to us on the shelf. We don't always get what we want. It doesn't always line up with what we want, like with the classic omnibus spine text change. But like, that's a direction that they made and chose with specificity. And we as fans don't have as much control over that. When it comes to contents, though, a lot of times we as fans are the experts, even more than the folks at Marvel are. And like a lot of fans over the years have turned into the Marvel experts and become the people who are the freelance editors of the books that put together that stuff. So like that, that's why we sometimes collectively have sway over the content. Sometimes we know better. But when it comes to graphic design, like, we can't all be backseat designers. No designer likes that when you design over their shoulder in a professional capacity. And I feel like that's what we get into when we start getting into the spine should be like, just let them make it look how it's going to look. Let's worry about what the insides of the book are.
On my bookshelves.
I had to say hi.
My bookshelves.
What's up, the Will? I haven't seen you for a minute, hermano. ¿Cómo estás? Thanks for opening up on that topic. Oh yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I got the spine, sorry, this is a bad example, and David knows this story. I mean, as soon as I got it, I remember messaging him going, "This is gonna go bad," and not in those words. Just because I know how people are. I know how I am when there's change. And it was bad. Oh, when somebody took a screenshot of me on that Saturday morning episode, woo! I got all kinds of emails and it was bad. Yeah. So that's why I tried not to say anything about that stuff. So all right. Let's keep on rocking. Incredible Hulk by Joe Casey and John Byrne Omnibus. One that makes me really happy, not because it's my favorite era of Hulk. It's not the greatest era of Hulk, but oh my gosh, this means so much. Bye-bye, Marvel Epic Collection, because I don't need you anymore. Now I got my Hulk in omnibus format, so you can suck it, Kurtis. Sorry, you're Canadian, my bad.
And a rare example of an omnibus crossing two different series, which is like they don't do it a lot. They didn't do it in the Wade Cap omnibus, but it's not like the most frequent path that they take.
It is a gap filler. It is definitely one
that's why it's like
that needs like I never thought this would come. This is one that surprised me. And like I said, it's not my favorite run on Hulk. It's as a matter of fact, the stuff by Byrne and Ron Garney, not the greatest. But it's a huge gap filler for a character that we had no idea this was ever going to happen. No way that this happened 10 years ago, like before Peter David. Even during Peter Davis, I never saw this happening because I really tried to get those issues of Hulk 468 to 474 added to Peter David Volume 4. And they were like, no, we have something else for that. And I thought something else for that was that epic that Kurtis and I announced. And then we get this. And it's like, oh, what the heck? What does this mean? So makes me happy. This goes right up to the Bruce Jones. Oh no, I'm sorry. The Dogs of War book by Paul Jenkins. You have that in oversized hardcover format, and then after that, of course, is the Bruce Jones era, which we really need in omnibus format. But one day, Omar's being mean, Kurtis. I'm so sorry, Kurtis. You're just right underneath me.
Why do I come here and take this punishment over and over again?
You love it, man. You love it. And I apologize afterwards. Okay, let's keep going. I'm sorry. Thoughts on this? Thoughts on this, you guys?
This one, I remember when we announced the Epic Collection with the Joe Casey material, you were like, this is so important because it's such a short run. It's not going to be in an omnibus, and so, but now the excitement for me, being an Epic Collection fan, is that I think that we will see John Byrne's Hulk as the next Hulk Epic Collection, like the volume after the Lone and Level Sands volume. This being here, I think, means that they're going to push that, they extend that line a little further.
Agreed.
Yep. I'll let Peter handle this one. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I love legacy Star Wars material, but I don't know it like you guys know it. Like I've read.
Oh, this is my
and
first time
bobs here
reading
and
this
there,
stuff.
but I'm a casual. I'm one of those filthy casuals that just wants the Wonder Man omnibus of like Boba Fett. Like I don't know it end to end.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify something. Yeah, if we're using the term evergreen, that means they always stay in print. Which for omnis, it's none of them really stay in print from the big two. There are certain books that always have this evergreen feel, like Sandman, no matter what, or Watchmen will always be in print, no matter what kind of format. But usually omnis, because they're so big and we don't have an unlimited warehouse with unlimited space, and books, printers actually having to print other books outside of comics, there's just no way to keep them in print. So evergreen
DC figures it out occasionally. Marvel, not so much.
Yeah, and DC does a lot of stealth reprints too.
Well, that's what evergreen means, is the stealth reprints. Is when you can go back to press without having to resolicit. It just automatically renews as soon as the print run's looking low. They just automatically go back to press with and print more copies. DC has a better history of that because their storytelling is way more just self-contained story based than Marvel is. They have those standalone books that are just always there, The Killing Joke and Watchmen and whatever. Marvel doesn't actually have a lot of that type of material.
I do need to say something really quick because I saw this too. So Nancy Collins came out and said that her Swamp Thing omnibus is going to be made evergreen by DC, which is wonderful. Peter Tomasi said that there's going to be 2 Green Lantern core omnis by DC. I really hope all of that is real, because my understanding with DC is that the creators have little, if anything, to do with anything in collected editions. And they seem to be always the last people to find out that there's going to be a collected edition of my book. Cool. That means I'll get some change. So I hope what this means is that somebody from the collected editions department is if they actually have one now, is contacting the creators going, hey, by the way, we have this. This is what we're going to do. And I think that is wonderful. And I hope that might happen. That's me with my, staying hopeful. So we will see. We will see. So yes, this is another era of Star Wars. I read nothing about it. Have you read the stuff in epic format, Kurtis?
I've read some of it. I like, for instance, The River of Chaos is a Louise Simonson and June Brigman series. Miniseries.
Wow.
Power pack,
yeah,
baby.
if you can believe that. I didn't like it very much. I didn't think it was very good, but it's kind of neat to see them do that. This one's a hodgepodge of different material from over the years, so it's kind of a weird reading because you're jumping from pretty drastically through different styles.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't read all of it, so I can't comment for sure.
I really like that Boba Fett cover. Not that there's anything wrong with Vader and all the TIE fighters back there, but it's a cool cover. All right, let's keep on rocking because we only have one book in December, and then we can talk about some hints here. Incredible Hulk Omnibus Volume 2. Another shocker that I was happy to see for the people asking me for years. Is it ever going to happen? And honestly, I didn't think it would because, first time around the book didn't sell that well. It was liquidated and then Marvel reprinted it. And I guess it sold enough to get a Volume 2. And that makes me so happy.
And I know that Volume 1 is full of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, but this volume here is way better material. This is great stuff. If you love classic Hulk, just the stuff that inspired the 1970s TV series, this is what you want here. Herb Trimpe on art and just doing some fantastic stuff.
I love that Steranko cover too, man.
Yeah,
such an awesome cover. So very happy for the people that have been asking about that one. Let's keep going. with X-Men 2099.
How and why? When I saw you do this announcement, I mean, I'll take any omnibus of anything I think is exciting, but how and why?
I guess Spider-Man 2099 did so well, and this is a
Gonna
series
drag their carcass right along.
Okay, my excitement for this was, wait a minute, something's missing. Where is it? X Nation. That should have been in there. Let me double check something. Unless they changed, because that was the latest ones they had. Give me one second.
I just copy pasted that, so.
Okay, no, I'll believe you. I just want to make sure I copied and pasted the right information. But that one made me happy because it had X Nation in there, and for that reason that.
Did you ever read this, Peter? This stuff?
I probably the first like 15 or 20 issues at the time, because that was my prime collecting years, and then I have short boxes of every 2099 issue ever, because back before the omnibuses were a glimmer in anybody's eye a decade ago, I was going to get them all bound into custom books like my like this. But now they're omnibuses. We'll get epics. Who knows?
This one was probably the material in here. The stories are okay. I never resonated with any of the characters that were on this team here, and I think because I liked Spider-Man and Doom and Punisher because they were like, it still felt like it was descendants from the previous generation, like the original generation, but X-Men had no ties to anything original X-Men. So I'm like,
yeah, it was like the one time Marvel was like, no, we're not going to reference anything in this X-Men alternate. Like after having so much success doing that, although this came before Age of Apocalypse, and I almost feel like Age of Apocalypse was like a course correction of like, well, we screwed up a little on X-Men 2099. Let's do the revisioning that probably should have been with Age of Apocalypse. That's not an official thing. That's just my fan read on the situation. But yeah, it's a strange book. It's a strange collection of characters.
So when I originally announced this book, it did have X Nation. So I'll have to go back and ask them if it was taken out on purpose, because it has the Fall the Hammer, which I announced. But X Nation was the thing I got excited for because that has Humberto Ramos on artwork. And it only lasted before it got canceled, along with the rest of the 2099 series. I think 4 or 5 issues, 6 issues at most, maybe. But
some of it's really early stuff too.
It was right after they got him from DC. So after his run on Impulse Marvel picked him up. So this has some Ron Lim artwork, and this is also when Ron Lim was drawing 55 titles a month for Marvel Comics.
Yeah, right.
But Metalhead, Skullfire, I think were some of the characters in here. Bloodhawk. I had some of the toys, and this is the series that felt like I don't get why any of these people were X-Men related, but whatever. There was I think in issue number 8, there were 5 characters that were introduced that were kind of like your Angel, your Beast, your Cyclops type of characters, and I think that was the closest thing back then to, oh, maybe this is it. Yeah.
Here's what I'll end with on that. As a reader in 1993, which I think at least one or not both of you would remember being at that time, to me, when you hear X-Men 2099 and you're reading the current Uncanny X-Men run at that time, you are sure it is somehow going to tie into Bishop. And when it didn't, it was like, oh, okay.
No kidding.
So yeah, and I'll ask about X Nation for the people that are wondering, because I'm wondering. Now, Kurtis, you said Doom. But that's cheating a little bit. Of course, Doom has a legacy with the Doom.
Well, spoiler alert.
All I said was, of course. All right, let's keep going. And we have Marvel Universe by Arthur Adams Omnibus. So it's been moved to December because, like I said, they had to move things around earlier, and this is the one that got moved to December. And there's your Dazzler Omnibus. Whoever was asking, where is Warren?
It's a great cover. One good piece of work from Arthur Adams.
Oh yeah, love it. But this features Longshot, New Mutants. So if you have some of the X-Men stuff, you've got a lot of this stuff already. But then it's got material from Spider-Man 2, Fantastic Four 358. Wait a minute, 358. Okay,
and also the new Fantastic Four,
which has never been collected in omnibus format. Which all that Walter Simonson stuff needs to be. But there you go. Now, there are 2 books I didn't announce yet for November. And I think this is the last one that we have, right, Kurtis?
Yes, this is. Oh, hold on a second. This one, I didn't see this. This is highlighting the Marvel Universe Series 1 and Series 2 trading cards in the material here. He did a lot of art for those.
He did a lot of art for those. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool that it's not just a bonus feature, it's like an actual feature in this book.
So on my Patreon, I put like, I leave in a blank, like these are how many books there are going to be, and this is going to be a new omnibus, this is going to be a new printing. So for December, we have Arthur Adams omnibus, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new omnis and 1 reprint. That reprint is going to be announced on Sunday. In January, so far we have 1, 2, 3, 4 new omnis and 2 new printings. One of those printings is going to be announced on Sunday, and the other one will be Tuesday. So yeah, let's see how I can give a hint. As far as the new books that are coming out, there are 3 that I grouped together because I was like, I'm going to group these together because I think it would be a lot of fun to get to announce these together. And 2 of them are X-Men related. One of them, depending on who you are, if you're me, of course I'd put it, to me, yeah, sure, X-Men related, or Avengers related, or Spider-Man related. There's your hint. And your other hint is, holy crap, I can't believe they're actually doing this. It's crazy to think 2099 is actually nearing, and our kids might actually live to see 2099. That's not only crazy, Joshua. Thank you for the super chat. That's also scary. Whew. The hint with the shirt was the Kurtis, would you go back to that, please? The hint with the shirt was actually with the gallery edition that we had here.
Oh man, yeah. Let me see if I can find that here.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not in what's it called? Here, let me see if I can do it, Kurtis. Now that
I got it.
Okay,
I
boss.
gotcha.
Okay. So that was the hint for the gallery edition. So we are going to get the Jeff Loeb and Tim Cell gallery edition. Now, they're not just the only X-Men related books, because there are also going to be 2 other X-Men related books coming out. And when I always say X-Men related, doesn't mean that it's got X-Men on the title. You know, it could be something else. So,
Generation
X. One is not Generation X. I'm sorry, Kurtis. Not yet. I'm sure we will get it. They got to clean those files up anyway. You've
sure
do.
The last X-Man.
You've seen the epics. I would love for them to clean up that file.
Yeah.
Let me try to think of another hint. I don't know. Because I mentioned Spider-Man. I think that's a pretty big hint. A couple of reprints, a new Spider-Man title, another volume 2. Actually, 2 volume 2s. Anytime I give hints, like there's one in here that I'm thinking, oh, we had a thing going, and then you decide to skip this. Wonder why? To go here. I can take a guess as to why they decided to skip this, but we had a thing going, and they skipped this era to go here, and that's interesting to me. Yeah, I suck at giving hints. Never was good at it. Okay, X-Men in Years Volume 2, Excalibur 3, and X. I love all these guesses. Generation X. No, it's not Generation X. That's the one hint I will say. It's not, because I would be excited about that too. G.I. Joe Omnibus. I'm listening. X-Men by Bendis. Are gallery editions in color or black and white? They are in color, unless the art was originally in black and white, which I don't think they've done any like that. So they are like this, and all in the colors.
Is
the
it
color
glossy
restoration
stock?
on this? Here, actually, let me highlight myself, because the color restoration on the gallery edition is so booty shot of Wolverine. My bad there, YouTube. Is the closest we've seen to the comics. This is Masterworks type of color restoration on these books. It's beautiful. And this is, of course, one of the greatest issues right there, along with Weapon X.
Very nice.
Yeah, that one is out of print. I hope that one comes back to print sometime soon. All right, let's get some questions here. What does everybody think? Is there anything like besides that issue of Amazing Mary Jane needs to be added? So what does everybody want to see added to any of these books? What about you, Peter? You think about these things like I do.
I mean, this is, I feel like Marvel's getting better and better at it. There's less and less, especially in the modern books. It feels like they're better at mapping the stuff that's like from 2010 forward, and who knows why that is. Maybe it was because they've editorially better organized. I don't have any insight into what happens inside of Marvel. I'm not an insider, but it feels like when we have stuff that's missing, it tends to be in the older books, and we need to be like, you've kind of forgot about blah. So who knows? Maybe their internal wiki is just stronger from 2010 forward, but I've actually been pretty impressed by the contents of most of these books, and sometimes they're very thoughtful, especially in the Nick Spencer omnibuses, of like making sure they caught just about everything, which is why that Mary Jane series kind of sticks out, but it's not by Nick Spencer. So I just feel like it might fall by the wayside, and they're big books.
The what's it called? The Hulk book was one that was brought up by my buddy New Spooey Channel, who's not here right now. He was asking about a couple things that other people were, like the half issue of Hulk. But the thing with that is that I think the Hulk half issue, if I'm not mistaken, was in that Dogs of War hardcover. I want to say, I'll double check that, because half issue was one of those wizard books. Remember?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean it was released in line with issue number 1.
Yeah. So okay, that it does have it. So and they also asked me about Hulk Smash, which is also in the Dogs of War. So Hulk half and Hulk Smash are in Dogs of War. So I'm sure they had already thought about that. So I'm glad that, it's one less thing I don't have to ask about. Death of Gwen Stacy Gallery Edition. Ouch, Michael. Oh, 2001 is one of my most wanted gallery editions. I would love that, along with Long Shot, because I love Arthur Adams. X of Swords is the oversized hardcover that's out of print now. Age of Venom omnibus confirmed. How are we confirming things? Mary Jane and Black Cat added to the Black Cat Omni, right? It's not there, I don't think. No, it's not. And I think that's because they have another series with them. And that's why they didn't add it. Daredevil Gallery should have that Father Mini Casada that did. Yeah, but that was a really not good. I just remember they created these ninja groups that never showed up again in Daredevil, and I thought, I don't know, and nobody ever used them again. And it wasn't Kevin Smith, but man, I don't know. And was Father in that Marvel Knights omnibus? I can't remember. If only I had this internet in front of me. What's the books you guys are most excited for? Peter, since you're the omnibus guy.
I'm really not anymore. I've gone over to Kurtis's dark side. If you look behind me.
Oh my gosh, why did I?
I'm an epic person now, but because I'm still into the mapping quality. Like I know that everybody's got their line, and I'm so invested in like making sure everything matches up. I mean, this just came this week. The few omnis that can pull me in. I'm so excited. It's still in the wrapper. I literally just took it out of the box from the mail yesterday, and I'm so excited. Marvel, hear me now. More Marvel UK in omnibus. We're ready. We need it. Let's go. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many of these omnibuses are a buy for me other than Wolverine, but I'm happy for them because they're filling in stuff, like especially that Hulk omnibus. That excites me because it shows that Marvel's like willing to like break a couple of rules to make the mapping work. And the same thing I think for the Wonder Man omnibus. I'm like, it shows me that Marvel is willing to break out of their normal format rules to make a book that makes sense. And I think that's what I love about recent Marvel omnibuses and about your influence, quite frankly, on Marvel, is it just feels like they're willing to do things that make sense now, instead of saying the books, Silver Age books only come out with movies, mapping can only be from a single series. Like, that's not helping us. And so, I think to me, the Hulk omnibus weirdly is the most exciting omnibus of that whole lineup because I just think it's smart.
Awesome. Kurtis, thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'm very, very selective with the omnis that I buy. Very selective. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to like I've already said that Marvel Age I think is one that I don't think we'll see reprinted in any other format. So I'm very tempted to jump onto that one. I probably will. Everything else I can either wait till I know it's coming on in Epic, or I'm not interested. Like Wonder Man, I'm not going to bother with that because I'll have all the issues if I want to read them. They won't be all together, but there you go. I
Okay.
might be interested in some of these trades though, if they do line up with other the modern era epics that aren't going to appear in there, like the Siege one, um, and the Thunderbolts one. I'll have to see what they plan to do with Thunderbolts modern era.
You gotta think outside the box, Curtis. What if they're thinking omnis?
Well,
Huh?
I can cry a little bit and then
Oh man, Curtis. What's your question? Captain America 307 to 443. How many omnis would that take? 4.
That is one of the omnibus lines I'm the most shocked that we have not had yet. With the chance, so many Captain America movies as a chance to get Grunwald into omnibus. I'm very happy that it's covered in Epic Collection. But if you were to ask me the most surprising 80s run that Marvel has not omnibus, I would say that.
Oh, I would say, I would honestly, what do they have though, right? We talk about this, at least those of us that have been reading comics for a long time, we know that there are certain runs that are attached to certain creators that you immediately think of, right? Like Chris Claremont's X-Men or Frank Miller on Daredevil, Roger Stern, Spider-Man, like all these defining runs. And I'm like, what's left? I guess Walter Simonson on Fantastic Four, which would be not even an omnibus. Innocenti on Daredevil,
Daredevil. That'll happen eventually.
and Mark Grunwald on Captain America. And for me, Tom DeFalco on Thor.
Fantastic Four.
And
On
Fantastic
Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom
And
DeFalco's Thor is good. I reread a lot of
Oh,
that
yeah.
recently. It holds the hell up, man. I
Oh,
think it's
big
highly
fan of
undervalued by
DeFalco.
modern fans. Highly.
Absolutely.
I agree too. Yep,
So
100%.
yeah, man, not a lot of love for the Falco's era, but I would love that stuff. So I was thinking, like,
the main
what
problem.
other runs? Like, what other runs could they do that could be that many volumes? Like Ed Brubaker, 5 volumes on Captain America. So I think the answer to this would be 4 volumes. I want to say for Grunwald's Cap, all of it. They did it with Hulk, with Peter David, and they give us a companion. But I mean, Grunwald, I think it would be 4.
I
It's
think they could
interesting
do it
that
in
Grunwald's run it has never been the
Another one.
same sort of acclaimed run as Peter David's Hulk.
Yeah,
And
and I think part of the problem with that was the ending in the 90s and people remembering things a certain way, like, oh, he's the Joker that did Cap Wolf. That run is garbage, and I think sadly that's what happens.
I also think that it's because his run never had superstar artists on it, like Todd McFarlane.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
And
He never got one of those image guys.
He
if
didn't
he
end
had
up
one
with
of those
SAG.
guys in there, it would have been a game changer for the way people remember that run.
He had one killer cover though with Jim Lee, and he got some Ron Lim artwork in there, right? And Buckley, I think, ended up doing a lot of his stuff. But you're right, he never did get one of those A artists. Yeah, you have Bruce Jones' run, but I was thinking of like what run besides Andersenti's Daredevil and Grunwald's Cap would be one of these like Peter David type of runs, Ed Brubaker type of runs on.
Yeah, there's not a lot
Marvel.
left.
Because a lot of these people, didn't stay on books long enough for them to have that many runs on a book. Bill Mantlo, I guess, on Hulk, right?
I was going to say
on
Matt Hulk.
Avengers.
Yep.
Roger Stern on Avengers, but even those, you're talking maybe 2. Yeah, and so it is interesting. Like, it's gotten to the point where, like, okay, we're done with Brubaker, we're done with these modern runs. What do we do next? And this is when it gets fun. This is when you get things like what Kurtis said, and I'm really excited about because it's a different type of excitement. This is when you get things like this creative, like, well, let's go back and fill in these gaps. We've got Dogs of War in hardcover. The Hulk fans probably bought that 7-8 years ago. If it's warranted, we could reprint it again and call it a omnibus and we'll put this in as a gap filler. People that like Hulk are going to buy this. I don't think it's going to be one of their best-selling books, but the people that are going to want it are definitely going to get it. Oh, this is thank you. This is actually a really good point. Where is it? Hawk Rider was talking about it. Bendis. You're right. I forgot. That is because it's a modern era. Bendis did New Avengers, then Mighty Avengers, then Dark Avengers. I mean, you put all that era together with all the Secret Invasion and Siege and all that. I mean, you got yourself a set of books for a while. Maybe that's the next era they're going to be focused on. Also, we need an Inhumans omnibus for Geo and me and at least 10 other people. So that's 12 of you. There's dozens of you. Dozens.
It could compete with Marvel Age for sales.
Power Pack. Dude, I have a soft spot for Power Pack. And let me tell you, here's the thing. If you're getting into Omnis now, and let's say, okay, people joke about Power Pack and like, who wants this, right?
I do.
Power Pack is sold out right now, volume 1, right? That means if you're getting into Omnis right now and say Power Pack was your jam, Power Pack was the book you grew up with, and you're like, I'm going to go find Power Pack. Oh, it's out of print. I'll just wait for that one to come back to print. That's one of those books that isn't up here in anybody's radar to come back to print, right?
Yeah.
That book went, it's gone, and it's going to be a long time before that book comes back to print. When books like that come out, I always tell people, if you have any kind of nostalgia for these things, like Kill Raven is another one in Epic Collection. Like, you may want to get it now while it's still in stock before it goes out of print, and then it becomes a pain in the butt to try to get it.
I think there's a better chance of Power Pack Epic Collections than a reprint of the Omnis.
But when we're asking for a Power Pack Omni, I think people might be referring to the New Universe Power Pack. Not New Universe.
Okay.
The Good Hero Power Pack. Because that stuff is really fun. My kid is addicted. I read one of them with her, and then eventually I gave her my old Power Pack Classics when I got the Omnibus. And she likes the 80s ones a lot because they treat kids as adults and have like hard topics, and she's getting to be that age. But she still brings up like, whatever happened to that cute version of Power Pack? Are there more of that? But I never got them all physically, and they really could use a reprint.
Well,
Go to Hero. I never always say it wrong. Go to Hero is hot now. I mean, they draw the Jeff comic. They've done so much. They did Gwenpool. Like, I think Marvel readers know them now.
Superman Smashes the Klan.
Superman Smashes the Klan, one of the best comics of the past decade.
That was a really good book. I was going to say, my family and I are going to do kind of like what we're doing right here. It's not going to be a live episode. It's going to be pre-recorded with upcoming kids' books from Marvel that they're having. And Power Pack shows up. So I was really happy that Power Pack is getting a new collection of that stuff that you're talking about. A Galactobus. Hey, I like that.
We'll
pay $500 from... I don't know if that's real. Is that real?
What?
That can't be real. It can't be real. Gemma Case, Moon Knight, OHC, please. Capuccio, is it Capuccio's artwork? Dude, that's another one. Like, Jed McKay is a guy that did Black Cat, and I'm so glad we're getting that in omnibus format because I didn't think people were reading the trades, and it's such a good run. And then he did Moon Knight, and it's a solid run, and he's going to be the new writer on Avengers. So I'm so happy about that. Omar, did you mention a new Spidey title? Yes, there's going to be a new Spider-Man title that I get to announce in omnibus format, and a couple of reprints. So that will be on Sunday. Unless you're on Patreon, that comes out on Saturday. Speaking for a long time of reprints, Omar's comments on Cloak and Dagger reprints made me focus on getting that first, and I grabbed it in 2 days. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, things like XMEN, this is coming from somebody calling himself the Uncanny X-Men, they'll be there. Uncanny 5, both covers will be there for a while, I want to say. Now watch that book sell out and everybody remembering this episode where I'm like, oh, they're going to be there. Don't worry about that. Go buy Power Pack instead.
But those print runs are definitely bigger.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Did Spider-Girl get an omnibus? No, she did not. She didn't even finish out in complete collections, but hopefully we'll get some kind of collection. The streets need a gold ball. No, they do not. Howard the Duck, the black and white magazine hardcover. That's David's favorite comic, so I'm surprised we don't have a lot more Howard the Duck. Omar, we need you to tell David G to have Marvel take some of that Disney money. I'll start that email chain like that. Let me tell you what to do with this money. And secure the rights for Godzilla, Rom, Shogun Warriors, and Micronauts. Out of those, Larry, one of those is something David wants and gets mad at every couple of years when legal says we can't do that because
Let me tell you, if you have never read Godzilla, it is so much fun.
Hold on to that essential.
It's like a Marvel crossover book. Every Marvel team like pops up. It's so fun. It's so fun. And there is a black and white essentials. And Oh, you got a custom epic? Oh, that's right. You got it bound.
Wait, hold on.
I got it. I made my own. Yeah, I got it bound. I bound all the issues in three epic size volumes.
You did a cover too. Oh, that looks awesome.
I did a cover as well.
I love how dedicated you are to the format so much that you didn't even do the omnibus. You went straight epic. I love that.
It's gorgeous.
It's a great title. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. If people have a way of tracking it down, if they can find the essentials, if they can become a member of Kurtis's personal lending library and borrow his epic.
The essentials also had a print. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's the only one that I would say hold on to. Gurihiru Academy X. Did they do Academy X?
Did they?
You talking about before Colin Yost took over?
I'm not sure.
90s Ghost Riders one I pushed for a couple of years. Omar, you must do a poll for Marvel to help decide which long run must be collected next. Usually they decide these things on their own. Sometimes I share with them like my most wanted books. By the way, I am going to be working with Tiger Eyes from the Marvel Masterworks Forum to have you all, put your vote-ins for your top 50 most wanted Marvel Omnis. Like you vote one, and then he takes it all together. He sends me the list, and I get to read them, and it's so fun because people. I know some people don't, but I usually map my own things. I'm like, oh, this is the way I would map it, and here are my covers, and it's a lot of fun to read that list. Daniel Way Wolverine. First of all, how dare you? What? Daniel Way Wolverine. I take Power Pack over anything by this. Shots fired. My man, Camilo. I got a super sticker here from JG. Thank you so much for that, brother. So they canceled Spider-Girl Complete Collections. It's just a line that they're getting away from, so I don't see any more coming out as far as Complete Collections. You'll probably see it rebranded as I guess, would that be an epic? Modern epic? I don't know anymore.
It falls in that gray area. It could be either.
It could be a saga, too, because it's an alternate reality. Has Titan Comics given any hints continuing Conan? Oh, that is a question I've asked. I'm actually announcing the new Mystery book on next week for them. So we'll see. I've asked, and they said they would let me know and announce it as soon as they have more information. Viva Peru! Muchas gracias, mi hermano. There's no Punisher Bronze Age Omnis. No, there's Back to the War, which is Punisher Volume 1, pretty much. And no epics of that era either, right, Kurtis? They don't have a Punisher Back to the War. Volume 3 is the first one. Is that correct?
Volume 2 is the first Punisher epic with the first miniseries, the Mike Zeck miniseries.
That's it. That's the one that's being reprinted this year.
Yep.
Which is, I love the artwork in that.
Yeah, but they basically left a number on reserve for all those initial Punisher appearances in Spider-Man and everything.
Yep. Micronauts was so good. Michael Golden's artwork in that. Oh my god,
so great.
You would think they just be nice and finish the last two volumes. Well, you would think they would do that with the Tomb of Dracula too, right? Because we only needed one more, and we only need one more complete collection for Tomb of Dracula. Jim Starlin's doing his own Omnis, though.
Yeah, they were just on sale hugely on the publisher's website for the box set. I almost bought them.
Yeah, Henry, if you're interested in those, Starlin himself is self-publishing those if you want to check those out, including the stuff that he did with Marvel Epic. Brian Reed's Miss Marvel Omni. Huh. You know, that's a series that was hit and miss with me. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't really care for. It had some nice artwork, though. Some really nice artwork. Both the beginning and the end of that. Hints for an upcoming gallery edition. Well, they pushed one back. Wait, you saw the other one, right, Keenan? The one that we announced for today. This one comes out in, is it November, I believe, Kurtis? Or September?
Yeah, it's way at the beginning.
If only there was an easy way to get back to the beginning. All right, here we go. October. So the hint for it was the Daredevil Yellow Gallery Edition. The other one has been postponed. It was another Spider-Man book, but it's been postponed for now. You think they're going to keep bringing out the Loeb and Cell color gallery editions like Cap White and Hulk Gray? I mean, might as well bring out Wolverine and Gambit too, right? And call it Wolverine and Gambit. I don't know what color. Brown? They both wear brown. No, Wolverine was gold at the time, or yellow. In these X-Men announcements, any chance for Messiah Complex Second Coming? Oh, I can't get into details, Dane. Because then it'll disappoint people when I'm like, there's always a chance, and then I don't announce it. Do you know when we can vote for our most wanted omnis? I want Agent. That is something that Tiger Eyes puts together, and then he's letting me announce it, and I'll send a link on the video. It's a lot of fun if you haven't done it. Since the early issues of X Factor aren't being collected in Phoenix 2, is it more likely we are more than likely going to get an X Factor Classic? Of course, that's what that means, because they've already planned it. Because you saw, I don't know why I'm pointing back there. I don't have it yet. Uncanny 5 and the way they mapped that. So we know those issues of X Factor will be collected in an X Factor Classic Omnibus. The complete collections are now turning into modern epics and saga formats, is what they're doing. Marvel should finish Spider-Girl and Dracula completes for the fans. It's tough when we commit and they pull out. We were almost there on these. How many more?
Well, Dracula is technically complete. They completed the Tomb of Dracula series in 5 volumes. Volume 6 was going to be stuff after that. So if you like that whole initial series is actually complete. So losing that one, not the end of the world.
No, I mean there is more material, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Tomb of Dracula is complete. I get why we're asking for a 6th one. I fully expected a 6th one, but it's not like they just didn't finish Tomb of Dracula. People who were asking for it want it to go all the way into Omnibus number 3, I think, which does not actually have Tomb of Dracula in it. It's all supporting material.
What a good question. Any unfinished comics you'd love to see? Spider-Man Avengers by Gage and Alberti to continue in Spider-Man and the X-Men, and Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four, Thor by Lang. That Thor with Samney's artwork, that was a lot of fun. What is that? The Mighty Avenger? Is that what it was called? I think that was really good. So many cool stories for Marvel to release in Gallery Edition. I agree with that. Are there other Daredevil Gallery Editions like Man Without Fear, Redemption, End of Days? The only one I don't have it because I gave it away to one of my viewers was what was it? Love and do you all remember? It's the Bill Sienkiewicz one. So Frank Miller, Bill Sienkiewicz, original graphic. Is it Love and War? Don't have it. I don't know why I was going to look up there.
All I can think of is Elektra Assassin. Yeah, what is that one called? That was a gallery edition? That's nice. His work is fantastic in gallery size.
Love and Death. Thank you so much, David. It was Love and Death. That was like one of the first ones after like the Roy Thomas and Neil Adams X-Men. Yeah. There's a lot of good ones. So is it Love and War? But I think the gallery edition was called Love and Death. I'll have to double check. Adam, Legend of the Blue Marvel. There's an underrated hero. And I'm not talking about Rocket Raccoon on your avatar. I love the Blue Marvel. That's why I was a big fan of Ewing's Ultimates. If you haven't read that, you need to. It's so good. When they reprint the Weapon X Gallery Edition, I'll be jumping with joy. I'm sorry, I didn't expect it to sell out, honestly, that quick. That one was gone quick. What's taking them so long with Amazing Spider-Man by Michelini and Bagley? That could be 2 to 3 volumes with Absolute Carnage. Absolute Carnage? You mean Maximum Carnage, right? I don't think Maximum Carnage will be included in there. I think they'll do one and done, and you can go and buy Spider-Man versus Venom Omnibus if you want the Maximum Carnage story. That will save them room. Kind of like what they did with X-Men by Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. Take out Extinction Agenda and Days of Future Present. Wanted to try something different and ordered the OHC for Red Sonja by Gail Simone. It seems that's the only run collected in OHC. Are there any runs just not that good? Yeah, for some reason that was the only one they did in that, and it's bigger than your oversized hardcover format. It's a little taller. It's the size of those big damn Sin City and the Colossal Conan books. It's a big book. Still fits in the K-Lax though. What's up, hip hop? Where's Fantastic Four by Chris Claremont and JMS? Oh, I think that will.
Well, we finally just covered all of it in completes, right? The last one
Yep.
is out. I've got it on my shelf right next to me. So Omnibus good. Talking about like single creator omnibuses that fill in a pretty good gap. That is a good run.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so got to start wrapping up because we've been on for a while, guys.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun, and I hope I was able to help people out. And thank you to Kurtis for helping me put this together. Thank you again to Jake, and thank you all for being here. Thank you to Marvel for sending us all this advanced notification. If you're just now, actually, let's do this really quick. If you're now just joining, here's what we announced as far as the big trades: the Ghost Rider by Ed Brisson and Secret Wars, Jeff Lowe by Tim Sell, Daredevil Gallery Edition, the Siege trade paperback new printing, and that was Secret Wars 2, by the way. Thunderbolts Dark Reign, Spider-Man by Tom Taylor, and Doctor Strange by Mark Waid, and Strange Academy Year 2, in case you missed it at the beginning. We do have to start wrapping up, but I just wanted to take this time to thank my wonderful co-host because this was a lot of fun. I don't get to see you guys enough. Seriously, I could do this all day, every day, because this is the kind of stuff that I enjoy talking about. I did take some notes on some of the things I saw, so I'll be asking Marvel, maybe some additions. Up to them if they want to do it or not. So, but these books are at least coming out. Now, Kurtis, where can people find you when you're not hanging out with me, buddy?
Well, I'm online at epicmarvelpodcast.com. That's where my podcast is, but I'm also on all the social medias, it seems. Try to keep busy on all of them, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Be Real. Have you ever tried Be Real before? I just post pictures of comics on there. But anyway, you can join my Facebook Epic Collection group if you want to talk more about Epic Collections. If you just search for Epic Collections on Facebook, you'll find it. And then I also want to thank you, Omar, for bringing me on here. And it was an absolute delight to be on here with you too, Peter. You say that you were excited to be on mine because I'm a wealth of knowledge, but most of my knowledge actually comes from seeing all of your stuff on your website. So there you go. We yep. I think it's a communal thing here for sure. All
Love
of
it.
us
I
knowledge
love hearing
pooled
that.
together. Yep.
And the wonderful person with the hair that is just so amazing and needs his own camera. Where can people find you, Peter Krisis, when you're not hanging out with us?
I've taken things way back to basics this year. I'm just on my website blogging about comics. I'm Crushing Krisis. It's crushing with a C, crisis with a K, as I am across the whole internet.com, crushingkrisis.com. I've been writing every day, mapping some stuff, updating my many guides. I've got over 200 guides to Marvel and DC Comics, how they're mapped, what the collections are, and complete reading orders. It's still going. This week, I released a reading order for Wasp and a complete reading order for Emma Frost for my patrons. So it's just been fun to get back to basics. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on Twitter right now. I decided it would be nice to just do some writing about comics and update my guides and make my own stuff. So if you want to see me other than here, which I will say, I'm so happy to be back. Omar, I cannot express to you guys how much cooler Omar is in real internet life than even he seems on the channel. Like you don't know how great Omar is. And I'm just so excited to be here with Kurtis, who preaches nothing but positivity and love for comics in every single venue he exists in. I mean, these two folks are why I love comics and being part of the community. I'm happy they tempted me out of my hiatus and back onto live video with you all. So hopefully I'll see a couple of you in the comments on crushingkrisis.com.
Absolutely.
And I just want to take my time to thank everybody for joining us live. This was a lot of fun, and these hours just flew by. I didn't expect to go this long. No. And Peter and Kurtis are wonderful people. That this is the kind of crowd that I like to be around to talk about these things. And I like to bust their chops because I love them. So of course they're always welcome back, especially when we're mapping things. Kurtis and I were talking about maybe mapping some epics and inviting my buddy Aaron along, and maybe we can grab somebody else. And people are ready for us to come back, Peter, to the Map My Comics. So
I might be ready. I think the hair demands to be seen, and it might be time to come back and map some X.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Well, I will throw out the signal. Thank you again to David, Gabriel, and everyone at Marvel. Check out cheapgraphicsnovels.com. They have books up to 50%. A lot of these books will go up for pre-order, as a matter of fact, here in the next couple of weeks. So check them out. They're here out in America. Tell them your mint condition sent you their way. You can have free shipping on your next order. That's cheapgraphicnovels.com. And for the people that stayed all the way to the end, Thor's coming on Tuesday. So you all take care. Have a good one. Hit that like button on the way out, though. I always forget.